This meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of this meeting will remain online for 4 years. And if you are present in the chamber, you are consenting to appearing on the recording and broadcast, which may also be used for training purposes. Anyone else recording or filming from within the room must not obstruct the view of councillors, officers, the public and press. And that flash photography must not be used unless this has been agreed beforehand. Before we begin, I would like to remind members that all comments should be addressed through the chair and that only one person should speak at a time. Please keep contributions relevant and within the agreed time limits so that every member has a fair opportunity to be heard. We may not always agree, but we can disagree respectfully. I ask everyone to avoid interruptions, personal remarks, and conversations across the chamber. I will now invite the monitoring officer to provide a reminder about points of order and points of personal explanation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Only one member should speak at a time. However, there are 2 exceptions to that rule. The first is a point of order. If any member thinks a council procedure rule or any matter of law has been broken, they should stand if they can or raise their hand and simply say, point of order, Mayor. The Mayor will ask the speaker to stop and give the member the opportunity for the point of order to be heard. So please wait until the Mayor invites you to explain your point before speaking again. The member must begin by stating the procedure rule that they believe has been broken, and if they can't, they will not be heard further. If the point is heard, the Mayor will give his ruling before moving on. The second circumstance is to offer a personal explanation. This can only be used if the speaker has said something about the member or something about what the member has said that he or she believes to be incorrect. Again, the member should stand if they can or raise their hand and say point of personal explanation, Mayor. Again, the Mayor will ask the speaker to stop, so please wait until the Mayor invites you to explain your point before speaking again, and the Mayor will conclude by deciding the appropriate course of action. If you are the member speaking when either point is raised, please pause and take your seat until invited by the Mayor to continue speaking. The timer will be paused while points are heard. If you are the member raising a point of order or personal explanation, please keep your comments brief and limited to making the point. These points cannot be used to disagree with what a member is saying in their speech unless it is about yourself. Members are entitled to express their opinions within the realms of good and orderly conduct as described by the Mayor in his opening remarks, and the Mayor will manage disorderly conduct as he sees fit.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the agenda. Item number 1, apologies. I received apologies from Councillor Evans, Sims, Barmia, Highland, Taylor, Councillor Bell and Councillor O'Donnell. Is there any other apologies?
Councillor Norwich.
And Councillor Norwich as well. Any other apologies?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Tracy. Yeah.
And Councillor Tracy as well. Okay.
Any others?
Any other apologies? No. Okay, moving on to item number 2, to approve as a corrected record the minutes of the council meeting held on Thursday, 18th of May 2026. Is everyone okay to approve this? Yeah. Okay, item number 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Okay, item number 4, call over. I will read out the agenda items that are available to be reserved for discussion this evening. If you wish to reserve any items for discussion, please indicate by raising your hands. Item number 9, cultural strategy. Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Item number 10, Gloucester Local Development Scheme 2026 to 29. No. Item number 11, adoption of the Gloucester Statement of Community Involvement. No. Item number 12, appointment of honorary recorder. Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Item number 13, community governance review. Thank you, Councillor Hilton. And item number 14, constitutional changes, electronic sealing. No? Okay. Okay, items 9, 12 and 13 have been reserved for discussion. I now call upon the leader of the council to move a motion to ask council to approve the recommendations of those reports that have not been reserved for discussion.
Yeah, as council is asked to resolve that the recommendations of those reports which have not been reserved for discussion be approved.
Is that seconded? And yeah. And is that agreed? Yeah. Item number 5, member public time. Questions from members of the public and responses from cabinet members have been published and circulated in advance. Those questions and answers will be taken as read. I will now invite those who submitted questions to ask one related supplementary question. I would ask members of the public to proceed directly to the question, which will be answered without discussion, after which members of the public should leave the speaking area, unless they have more than one question on the schedule. We have 15 minutes to get through as many supplementary questions as possible.
We don't think the chamber.
Is Mr. Chilcott in the chamber today? No?
No.
Okay, so we move on to item number 6, petitions and deputations. We have not been notified of any petitions or deputations. So we move on to item number 7, announcements. I got a quick announcement from me, just to say that there is Jamaican Independence Day happening on the 2nd of August, 12 to 9 p.m. and it'd be amazing to see everyone there to attend. And it's at Gloucester Park. Okay. Have you got any announcements from the leader of the council?
Yeah, I have one announcement to make, is that earlier today I joined a web meeting with the managing director where Nestor Kaliskan, the Under Secretary of State for MHCLG, gave us prior knowledge to the announcement which was made in the House of Commons today on what the form of unitary government in Gloucestershire would be. And we were told that it was going to be one unitary council. In actual fact, this is the only area in the country that has only got one unitary council. We believe that the rationale from the government, the major rationale from the government, was that they did not want to see Gloucester and Cheltenham separated between two unitary councils. The Secretary of State has written to me. I don't know whether everybody else has had a copy of that letter, but we can share that at some point. I haven't read it yet. I've been too busy with preparing for this council meeting, plus some press inquiries that were urgent as far as they were concerned. The elections will take place for the new unitary authority in May 2027. This will be a shadow council rather than a continuing council, which means it's a brand new local authority. The other option would have been for elections to take place for the new unitary and the county council together, and for the county council to be the continuing authority, the one that would set it up. The county council will now continue separately and the new shadow will be set up. There will be 110 elected members for the single unitary. You should have all received a briefing email from the 7 local authorities. That's basically the announcement that was made today. As far as we're concerned, the City Council will continue to collaborate with the other 5 district councils and the County Council to make sure that preparations and the process is done in the most effective way to ensure that services continue to be delivered by this council and the other councils right up until vesting day, and the setup is done to the point where services will continue without severe interruption, probably no interruption at all, but that's the situation at the moment. I've made a statement about my disappointment about them going with single unitary, but I won't mention that now. I've already done that in the public domain. You can read it online, I'm sure.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Any announcements from the members of the Cabinet? Councillor Fields?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to announce that 4 of our parks in Gloucester have been re-accredited as being amongst the best in the country with the coveted Green Flag Awards. They are Barnwood Park and Arboretum, Gloucester Park, Robinswood Hill Country Park and St Bridge Balancing Pond. And it's a real tribute, Mr. Mayor, to the hard work of the City Council and Ubico and all the volunteers and community groups who help us make these parks and others across the city as best as they can be. So I'm really pleased to hear about that.
Thank you, Councillor Fields. Councillor Sawyer?
Thank you. Mine's more of a request from officers than an announcement, but the officers have asked if I can remind members that if anyone wants an update on a planning application, if they could email here to help rather than email a particular officer, because it kind of channels it through to the right case officer, because a small number of senior officers are getting inundated with emails and they're spending their time giving it to the case officers. So the official line is through here to help. And also on the back of that, if you do send a comment directly to an officer, just to remind members that they can put that on the planning portal for transparency so that it could be made public, probably will be made public. So just, you know, if you want to comment on an application, they'll take it as an official comment. And finally, if you do see a planning breach, we've now got the report breach section on our website. So if anyone sees a planning breach, that's the official channel to go to again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sawyer.
Any other members of the Cabinet?
Any Councillor Sherby?
Thank you. I'm pleased to report that we're making real and measurable progress in reducing the number of households placed in B&B accommodation. Since January, we've achieved a 29% reduction in the total number of people staying in B&B. This is a significant shift, and it reflects the determination and commitment officers have to have achieved this. The most encouraging movement is for families. I'm sure we can all agree that children shouldn't be in bed and breakfast accommodation wherever it can be avoided. Family use of B&B has now fallen by 68%. That's a real achievement. I would like to thank officers for their hard work and persistence in delivering this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sherby. Councillor Dr. Trimnell?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so any questions any announcements, from chairs or committees? No. Head of Paid Services?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to note that next week Louisa Davis leaves us. She's secured an appointment as a chief executive of a arts organisation to the north of us. And I'd just like to place on record my thanks and hopefully the thanks of Council for all the work she's done in moving forward cultural services and leisure services during her time with this Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to item 8, members' question time. I will invite group leaders to ask 2 questions and related supplementary questions. Other members may indicate that they would like to ask a question by raising their hands. After group leaders, I will endeavour to allow each member who has indicated to ask one question and one related supplementary question before allowing any member to ask a further question. This will continue until the time has run out. Questions should be put and answered without discussion, noting that we have 45 minutes to get through as many questions as possible, and questions must comply with council procedure rules, which have been circulated to all members and the members' code of conduct. Okay, we start with Councillor Steffi Chambers, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I just ask, do you prefer Mr Mayor or Mayor? No. Right, thank you, Mayor. Yes, my first question, I presume it would be to the Cabinet Member for Communities. In the winter, we make a great deal of warm spaces for people to attend, and we all know it's horrible for cold and cost a fortune to heat their houses. But within the new sort of climate we're enduring and likely to carry on enduring, there are a lot of issues with excess heat and how unwell that can make people and even cause excess deaths, even more so than the cold can. Is this council, firstly, looking at any possibility of introducing cool spaces for people to attend? And if so, where could that possibly be?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Chambers. Yes, so the severe weather emergency protocol was activated by Gloucester City Council on Monday, the 22nd of June, until the 28th of June, due to an amber and then a red warning for heat. It has also done so since as well. During the heat sweat period, the council worked alongside outreach services and partner organisations to provide targeted support to people sleeping rough across the city, which included increased outreach patrols and welfare checks, the distribution of bottled water and sunscreen, ongoing engagement with rough sleepers and signposting individuals to designated cool spaces where they could access shade, hydration and respite from the heat. These interventions were designed to reduce the risk associated with prolonged exposure to extreme temperatures, ensure that vulnerable individuals remain connected to support services. Unlike cold weather sweat, heat sweat does not routinely include the provision of emergency accommodation. The focus is instead on welfare interventions, hydration, cooling measures, and proactive outreach engagement to protect those sleeping rough during periods of extreme heat. In terms of the number of rough sleepers supported alongside, which is our outreach provider, if you remember, it was actually called Julian House, but it's now been called Alongside, has confirmed that during this period, 48 individuals county-wide were offered water and sunscreen during the heat sweat activation period. This suggests that our outreach teams is engaged with a similar number of people to those recorded on the county's weekly rough sleeping list. I can go on and on and on and on, but I won't. All I can say is yes. And areas such as like the cavern, the library, and some of the others are actual buildings where our rough sleeping people can go and get out of the heat. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Chambers?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. That is very useful. And that mainly was in regards to rough sleepers, which I understand. But a lot of people, hardly anybody has air conditioning in their homes. Is there anywhere for the general public, anybody that might want to visit? And if so, could we advertise or suggest to people libraries, of course, places, older buildings, etc., like that? Would we be able to do that?
Yes, thank you. Definitely, of course, it's something we could put on our website, but places like the University of Gloucestershire Library, build facility there, people could go into the cavern as well. It's not exclusive, of course, so people can go in there. That's not a problem. But I think it's worth thinking about and possibly then putting it on our website. Thanks.
Thank you. If you've got a second question, Stephanie Chambers.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. This is for the Cabinet Member for Planning. coincidentally, you mentioned the same thing that I was going to ask you about, which was the email that went out to members. But I've also been contacted by members of the public concerned that there could be interference with planning applications. And so my question to you is, as elected members, we do often pick up the phone to a planning officer. And I think sometimes that is really important where we can have those conversations. I mean, I haven't had one in probably a year or so. I don't do it as a regular matter, of course. But I think that should be available to councillors to be able to speak to planners. They can explain something in detail if we need clarification. But I do understand the importance of the legalities involved. So whether there's some method that can be looked at, whether that phone call is recorded for transparency or whatever needs to be done, would be fine with me. But are you aware of any specific interference? Because, I mean, I will pass these emails over to you, but there is significant concerns over people's interest into, certain cabinet members' interest into planning and interference with applications. And are you aware of that?
Right, hang on. So I'll deal with the first bit. So just to clarify, if you email Here to Help, they'll redirect that to the right case officer, who will then contact you back, and then you can start that conversation with the officer. So it's not, you can't speak to officers, it's just going through the correct channel. And yeah, I'm not quite sure, I'll have to go back and speak about phone calls and how we can record that for transparency. And then I don't know of anything specific. This is just, the case officers just kept saying they feel uncomfortable with having conversations with members and feeling they should all go on the portal. So I haven't got any specific examples of anything I'm worried about. I think it's just, we just want to make sure that we are open and transparent.
And a supplementary question?
Thank you. Yeah, I will forward the emails to you so you are aware of what's being said, but thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Pullen, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So, question to the leader of the council. Could he tell us who is responsible for the £1.125 million overspend in the 2025-26 budget?
You'll remember that the 25-26 accounts were readjusted in January because they were based on best estimates when they were originally set up. And during that period of time, what we did was only went through the higher level, the projects and budget headings. And what they've done is then gone through the whole lot and identified the budget precisely and accurately. And for the first time since 2021, they've gone in on time. So these figures, we think, are the most accurate that we've ever had in the last 5 or 6 years. And we've been just clearing up the mess. There was no particular decisions that were made that made the overspends happen. Some of them were to do with the budgets not being accurate in the first place, or where there needed to be repairs and maintenance, like in the car parks. We know with the car park income, for example, where we increased the fees, that the income came in on that, but it's the actual cost of doing some of the repairs and keeping the maintenance there. So what we've had is budgets which are not being accurate or haven't been substantial enough to cover the actual costs. So no particular decisions made by this administration that I'm aware of have caused any of that overspend. This is just accurate accounting we finally got to. And you should thank us for doing such a good job.
If you've got a supplementary.
Sorry, I don't think so somehow. We keep hearing the same old excuses, don't we? The same old story. Look, yeah, there's a litany of financial failures at this council. Granted, initially they were not all your responsibility, but we asked you to sort it out, and you haven't. Now, the 2025-26 budget was set by you. Your budget, you were responsible for monitoring it. You were responsible for making sure that it was accurately spent, that there would be no overspend. You can't blame anyone else for a budget that you have set. So once again, you've failed in your responsibilities, and the people of Gloucester, the council taxpayers, have had enough. They've lost patience now, Councillor Hilton. They've lost trust, and they've lost the ability of trust in you to carry out financial responsibility. They've lost confidence in your leadership. Now, any decent and honourable politician and leader of the council would do the right thing and resign. Will you do the decent and honourable thing, Councillor Hilton, and resign?
As I said before, I'm waiting for the apology from the Conservatives for the absolute financial mess that they left this council in. We had 3 years sets of accounts which were incomplete, not done, not audited, and then we had the final set of accounts that we had to do. We've already heard that the figures that were being worked upon were on best estimates. We have been digging around and we've been getting the figures right. That's what we've done. And we put the budget papers, the statement of accounts in on time, the first time in 5 years. We've also introduced robust monitoring, budget monitoring, with our officers and finance team that started in December. So some of the problems, if you read the report, you will see the Section 151 officer makes it quite clear that we did not do zero-based budgeting across the whole council. So some of these figures were ones that we later discovered to get right, and some of these have already been adjusted in the 26-27 accounts. But when you take over with a financial headache left to us by the former administration, the former Conservative administration, that did absolutely nothing and has not had the courtesy to apologise, that's the situation we're in at the moment. That's the situation, and we're getting on and sorting out that job.
Explanation I could make because I was named. He said the leader of the Conservative group.
Councillor Punney, you got a second question?
So that's a no then, Councillor Hilton. You will carry on in your incompetent way. There are no excuses left. We just roll on, and the people of Gloucester still have to put up with your incompetence. So, earlier on this year, the council was bailed out by the government, £15.5 million. But this money has to be paid back by the sale of council assets. How confident are you that assets can be sold off to pay the borrowing? And how much will the council pay back of that borrowing in this current financial year?
Can I just say, when we talk about incompetence, I often think about the incompetence of your reading of the financial accounts and the final quarter accounts which you had. And you made a few assumptions in the public domain which were totally inaccurate. As far as the asset sales, we're progressing asset sales as quick as we can. Again, I've got no idea exactly how much we're going to be able to sell in this financial year, but I know the officers are working.
Sorry, Councillor Hilton, can I stop you there, please? Can I stop you there? Just as I said at the beginning, can we all please address the chair? So all comments need to go through the chair. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I've finished.
Have you got a supplementary?
Yes, I have, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, there was no intention to ignore you, of course. So you've no idea how much is going to be sold to pay back at the end of this financial year. So because I'm just concerned that sales of assets seem to be quite complex and they will take quite a long time. HKP Warehouse, as we know, still remains unsold. So is he concerned that the debt may not be paid back at all by the end of the current council's administration, that it won't be paid back until 2028, in which case that will be handed over to the incoming authority? That's not a good look, is it?
As I say, we know that we're looking at HKP, and we've had a cabinet paper that went through the other day. I hope you read it, where we changed the way we're going to sell it. So we're hoping to proceed with that one quite quickly. We're hoping to proceed reasonably quickly with St Oswald's. We put the airport back on the market. We hope to do that. I mean, the thing is, you're asking me to give you a time on exactly how much money it's going to be sold. Well, you can't. You cannot do that. And that's where you should understand that. We are putting items locations up for sale, and we're doing it without a fire sale. We're going to maximise the income we get there. And we're working as fast as we can. But I cannot give you an accurate figure at this point in time of where we get to at the end of this council. Is our objective to sell the assets that we've identified. You are on the Recovery Advisory Board. You will get the information on that, on which ones are being sold. And we're working as quick as we can. It's up to the officers, it's up to the purchasers, it's up to the legals to process all that. But we're working as hard as we can, and we'll see where we get to. I'm not going to say it's going to be that figure or this figure, because that would be a stupid thing to do. I'm just saying we'll sell as much as we can without it being a fire sale, and we'll make sure that we get the best value for it. But HKP was a problem. We've changed that from selling the whole lease to selling an underlease because of the problems we had with other tenancies in that building. So you've had that cabinet paper that went through, and we've had other cabinet papers talking about how we're progressing the sale of our assets. And we're doing it in a very professional way. And of course, it will be handled by the head of place and his team. And I think they're doing a very good job. So trying to just have a go at me, Terry, is a bit cheap and a bit pathetic. And you're
Once again, please, Councillor Hilton, please resume your seat.
Point of order.
Yes.
Point of personal explanation. A bit cheap.
Yeah, I agree. That was uncalled for. Would you like to apologise, Councillor Hilton?
not at all.
Okay, we're moving on to Councillor Chambers. Alistair Chambers, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be a lot more polite than Horrible Hilton. What I was going to say, my question, Chair, is to Councillor Hilton. At the LJ conference, we spoke, and I made a comment on the state of Kingstone Parks. They look to be getting all the money around the city. All the parks are being done. You've got new play parks. Everything looks like it's being spent in Kingstone, and while the rest of the city suffers. While we spoke, you told me that the new play park and some of the works were spending on Stephen Green Matson money. Is this true?
Sorry, the new play park in Kingstone is funded by the Section 106 money that came from the Cleveland Green housing estate. It was built there. But we also contributed £2 million towards Blackbridge from that development at Podsmead. So that's just, and that was just, I don't know exact figure, but that was an upgrade of the existing thing. And as far as the new footpaths around Hillfield Court Gardens, that again was paid for from funding from Cleveland Green. The amount of money that has been transferred out of Kingstone to the rest of the city is considerable compared to the amount of money that Kingstone has benefited from the development at that site, which I did oppose at the time. As far as the other development, I'll need to talking about the other play area, I would need to check my facts on that one. I don't know which one you're talking about.
You got a supplementary, Councillor Alistair Chambers.
I do. I take that as you did take the money, which is pretty bad.
Okay, Alistair Chambers, please resume your seat.
Any money or anything. Am I getting a bit fed up with it?
It's a personal explanation. Is this a personal explanation?
Yeah, the funding of the play park in Seabrook Street was paid for by the development of Section 106 money.
Okay, thank you,
from
that's
Cleveland
noted.
Green.
Thank you, that's noted.
And it has to be spent by a certain time.
Yeah, we note that. Can Alistair Chambers please continue?
Yeah, sorry if I was mistaken. The reason I led to believe that was Councillor Hilton told me that the money to my face was taken from the Senior Green pot of money. Hence the reason I asked the question. I would not have done otherwise. So it's nice to see that he's. No. To be completely clear,
Have you got a
he said Stephen's
supplementary?
Green for me. So it's nice to see that it wasn't the case. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Does he have a second?
Have you got a second question, Mr. Chambers?
This is to the Cabinet Member, if that's okay, Chair, Mayor, of Finance. As we're all aware, the car boot has been in a terrible state of affairs since the London outside company started trading. Looking at the calendar, the outside London company are due to start paying rent within around 3 weeks. Do you think they're going to stick around? As even AI, when you type it in, says Gloucester Car Boot is a terrible place to visit.
Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. First of all, top tip, AI just tells you what you want to hear, at least. Sometimes I think ChatGPT is my best friend, because that's what it tells me all the time, but it isn't. As regards the car boot sale, first of all, it's useful to remind we're now nearing the 1 year anniversary and that criminal gang attacked the car boot sale and tried to attack innocent residents of this city by spreading nails that could have stuck in tyres and could have caused a fatal accident. And sadly, from what I can hear, nobody has yet to be brought to justice. And I think that we should all remember that criminal gang still out there, whoever they were and whatever their motives were. Regarding the car boot sale itself, my understanding is it's doing very well. You know, I wouldn't sort of trust what AI has got to say in it, because they all seem to be still a concerted social media campaign running it down all the time, and AI will just look at all that and then it'll come to its own conclusions, because it'll only look at publicly available information. I have asked about the car boot and it does seem to be doing well, and he seems keen to continue, so I think that's good news for the residents of the city.
Have you got a supplementary?
I do, thank you, Mayor. And before I say, I'd just like to say how well you're doing at being Mayor. It's fantastic. Your social media is phenomenal. You are probably the best Mayor there's been. So thank you very much. So my second question is to the Cabinet Member for Finance. Will the car boot go out to tender again and waste a lot more of taxpayers' money when they vacate? Or will it go to the next winning bidder, the person that was second in the bidding line? Because obviously if it goes back out to tender and you waste all that money, it'll be like your drinking bottle, Quackers.
If you read our asset strategy, which I brought over from due scrutiny a couple of months ago, the process is in there, and we will do everything strictly to the book and make sure it's a full and fair process, if that was to happen. But as I said, I have absolutely no indication that is even on the cards, because as I said, the current operator seems to be very happy with the way things are going there. So I would expect that to continue.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. We move on to the other members. Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to Cabinet Member for Culture and Leisure. I've recently taken out a membership at GL1, and at £45 a month, it's not one of the cheaper gyms in Gloucester. But as a councillor, I thought it important to support our community leisure facilities. However, I've been highly disappointed to find that the facilities and services I'm receiving are far from first class. Centre itself is dirty and strewn with rubbish. The floors in the studios and gym areas are covered with dust and hair, and don't even get me started on the changing rooms. They are really unhygienic. Aside from this, classes are being cancelled at short notice, sometimes only after members have turned up for them. I was told the other day of a member who'd actually was in the swimming pool waiting for a lesson when she was told the chlorine level was too high and she'd have to get out. Speaking to other members, discontent is growing, and quite a few members have told me they're going to resign. So complaints have been made to both Freedom Leisure and the council, and excuses have included a lack of available cleaners and that there is no point making improvements until the redevelopment takes place. So can the Cabinet Member for Culture and Leisure please tell me what we're doing to ensure that Freedom Leisure maintain the centre to a high standard of cleanliness and provide an acceptable level of customer service in order to stop members leaving for other venues? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Yes, we are aware that the leisure centre is in dire need of an upgrade. We've been working really hard on getting contracts in place to be able to proceed with those works. And we are pleased to be able to confirm that we now have project management and contractors in place. They're working now on the detailed designs for the first stage of the upgrade, which will cover sorry, I'm just looking at my notes, which will cover the gym, the wellness and the cycle studios, as well as the new ladies' gym that Councillor Patel was aware of. So they're in the detailed design phase at the moment, and works are due to start on that in September. And then the second phase will be the poolside, so it'll be the changing room area as well is included in that, which you've just referred to. Splash pool, climbing, soft play, sauna. That's all due to start the design for the design to be completed by December this year, and then the work will start in February with completion in October 27. So it has been a long time in the making, but that work is now underway, the design work, and the actual upgrades themselves will start in autumn. In the meantime, it has been a struggle for Freedom Leisure to maintain the facilities to the best standard they can. Obviously, they don't want to spend a lot of money on repairs to things that are about to get ripped out and replaced anyway. So it's about trying to make sure that everything is safe, make sure everything is clean and hygienic. They have also had issues with staff, particularly cleaning staff. They've interviewed like literally 100 people to try and fill the hours that they need to fill for cleaning. And for various reasons, they've not been able to recruit a very large number of people from all those applications. Quite a lot of the time it was because people didn't turn up for the interview. Even the ones who did, it was perhaps because either they weren't suitable, they didn't have any, relevant sort of skills or come across in the right way for the job, or it might just be because they didn't want the hours that were on offer for them. So recruitment has been really difficult, and I'm constantly speaking to them about it. Trust me, they are hearing from me a lot all of the time, but they are trying to fill those hours. I'm also doing spot checks myself, so I'm going along to GL1 and I'm looking around the leisure centre and looking to make sure they're keeping on top of things. And I think sometimes it just depends on what time you go there. When I turn up, I don't tell them I'm coming, I just turn up. And I went there and I went around the pool changing area because I know that's where a lot of complaints have been made. And there are some aspects that no amount of cleaning is going to make it look better. There are, stains that can't be got out even with a jet washer, and they have tried, just because it's so old and they're really ingrained. And there are splash marks, for example, on the doors. It looks like it's dirty and hasn't been cleaned. It's not. It's a permanent stain that can't be removed. And when that gets replaced as part of the scheduled works, then it will look cleaner because it's new and it will be able to be maintained better. So I'm not saying there aren't problems there, and there are things that I'm monitoring very closely. But I also do think that once those areas have been refurbished, it will make a really big difference to the whole environment. It'll make a big difference as well to how people treat the facilities themselves. When it's not in very good condition, it's hard for people to motivate themselves to take care and clean up after themselves and try and keep it tidy. But I think, we should see a culture change both with users and with staff, I think, when we've given them facilities that are really worth looking after.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor James, supplementary.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I appreciate that the redevelopment's going to be starting soon. But I've been to the leisure centre. I go early in the morning for classes. I go late in the evening for classes. And it is consistently dirty. It is really horrible doing Pilates in the studio when the floor is covered with dust. And I've also witnessed 4 members of staff on reception when I'm the only person going in to check in. Why do they not redeploy some of the staff that's sitting around the centre? So one thing I would like to know, once these members leave GL1 and find facilities elsewhere, they're not going to come back. So given that we're going to have extensive refurbishment in the centre for well over 12 months, Are there any plans to offer reduced price membership for this duration so that we can try and get people to stick with GL1 and still be there once the transitionary period is over and the redevelopment's taken place?
Thank you, Councillor James. I know there will be people that are leaving because they're dissatisfied with the appearance of the facilities, and I can understand that. Interestingly, though, we had our annual leisure report come out last month, or this month rather, to Cabinet, and Freedom Leisure actually, despite all these challenges with the facilities itself, they're still driving up membership numbers. And I don't get me wrong, I don't want to see anybody leave the centre, particularly people who've been members for a long time and have shown their loyalty to us. But they are making improvements in the classes and what they have to offer residents. So I think that's a positive, that despite the circumstances, they're still able to bring new members into the centre. So I think we have to bear that in mind too. They're working under challenging circumstances, and once those upgrades have been made, then hopefully we'll continue to see that increase in membership rise even more steeply. I'm not sure about the offer of a reduction in membership. I would have to speak to Freedom Leisure. We as a council don't set that. So I can certainly go back to them and say that you've raised that with me.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Councillor John Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to Seb Field. Thank you, Councillor Field. But just to dovetail into what Karen has said and Caroline Courtney, there is some success in the GL1 in terms of solar panels, 832, and battery storage. But my question is about, are we conducting a feasibility study in rooftop solar on all our council buildings? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. We discussed it, I think, last week when we met as a cabinet with the head of place, and I think he is looking into that. It is challenging. Certain buildings are easier to do than others. And of course, you've got the funding challenge. How do you pay for it? How do you make it give a good return on investment? And especially given today's news about LGR, some are a better bet than others. But it is something we look at all the time. And it is something I've looked at in the county-wide sense with the Climate Leadership Gloucestershire. That's something we're always looking at. I hope to have more news on that in the future years.
Thank you. And is there supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my supplementary, do we have an interim timetable, not just a blanket 2045? Because we have got a meeting next Friday.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Timetable, do we have a timetable, not just a blanket 2045 timescale on all our...
2045 is when we've got to get to net zero as a district, and 2030 as a council. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the context of financial challenges for the council, it's difficult to do solar panels. They have to find a way to pay for them. It's also a challenge in terms of access to the grid. I think I don't want to get this wrong, so the head of place will correct me, I'm sure, but I think we talked about St Oswald's as being a possibility, and I think it was also mentioned of King's House for some solar panels. We do already have some, of course, in the city. We have some on GL1, and we're always looking at others. We do other things in terms of decarbonisation. So we're doing green gas, we're doing HVO. We're also looking at the thermostats in council buildings and whether there's possibility of a pilot to use software to reduce our energy use and to set the thermostats on timers. Those are all some of the measures that we're doing in the climate change department, but you'll hear more about it when we meet next week.
Thank you. Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a question for the Cabinet Member for Environment with regard to the 52% price hike in football hiring pitches, the fees. These price increases will make grassroots less accessible. Sorry, I'll start again. Well, this price increase for football pitch hiring will make it less accessible for local sports clubs, particularly for young people and families in deprived areas, at a time when we should be making it easier for people to stay active and help reduce health inequalities and rise in heart disease and other preventable illnesses. This ill thought out plan to put up the financial barriers and expect people to pay more to hire an outdoor football pitch could undermine community clubs. It's just simply wrong. Grassroots clubs have not even been consulted on this, and sadly this decision will literally risk tearing the roots out of grassroots sports clubs. Has the council carried out a quality impact assessment, and will you do the right thing this evening and stop this 52% price hike increase, just like this council has done with the allotment charges increase? Perhaps we can explore a phased price increase over a few years, and hopefully that will allow the local community sports clubs to absorb the charges. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure that playing pitches actually fall within my portfolio, though I am happy to answer. The increases in the fees were all passed by council in February in the budget meeting. I know the Conservative group voted against, but other opposition councillors did vote for the budget. And so it's a bit disappointing to hear some people now complaining about those fee increases when they actually voted in favour of them. I'm not saying, but the fee increases in sports pitches, the charging for recycling boxes and bins, and the increase in the fees for allotments, which are all passed by council by majority vote as a fees and charges increase, were all done because of the financial context that you heard about earlier in the meeting. We have got to make a significant amount of savings, and it is one of the ways that we are doing that. We are looking at other things. Of course, asset management and disposal will get us more of the way there, but we have to look at everything in the round. These were the fees and charge increases that were recommended, and actually when the officers did the work at the time to look at them, it was discovered that they hadn't been increased for a long time except by inflationary measures, but also they were often far below what other comparable authorities were charging. And so we were not covering the costs of our services. And this increase is a way to get more towards covering the cost. Often in these cases, as with allotments, we aren't actually covering the cost of the service, even with the proposed fee increase. So it's trying to get us nearer to where we need to be. And I think with some of these charges, the recycling boxes and things like that, I think they needed to actually be done many, many years ago. Other councils all around us all do it already, and they haven't seen a drop in recycling, and nor have we as a council. We've seen a drop in demand for the recycling boxes of around 48%, but we haven't seen comparable drop in recycling. In fact, it's stayed about the same. So it says that policy was the right one. With regard to sports pitches, of course, if the fee is already small in terms of pounds and pence, if you put it up by a few pounds and pence, the percentage increase will look large. I don't think, actually by our benchmarking, it is a large increase. It's a measurable, fair increase, and it means that we can still continue to support people who want to play football or other sports, but we're also being fair to our wider residents who shouldn't have to subsidise what are discretionary activities and services.
Thank you. Councillor Patel, you got a supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your answer, Councillor Field. Unfortunately, I don't think you can always compare like for like. You can't measure apples and pears, can you? And it's the same way. It's still a 52% increase regardless, no matter what you say. But we also have to remember that there's other costs involved as well. You know, refereeing costs, hiring the changing rooms as well, facilities, the transport costs. That all adds up. We have to take that into consideration. I don't think we are. All we're doing, Mr. Mayor, is we are sending the wrong message out to the people of Gloucester here. And that message is that when this council is struggling, we're just going to go out and go to the residents and make them pay for it because they're easy pickings and they're the first target for more money. Where can you show us where you found other efficiency savings within the council before we are making the residents, once again, we're penalising them. They're already paying their council taxes. They've already had an increase and we're going to screw them over even more. Literally, we just want to screw the residents over time and time again, whether it's with recycling bins, whether it's with wheelie bins, whether it's with parking, whether it's with allotments, whether it's with football sports clubs. This is quite sad, Mr. Mayor. We're elected here to represent and do our best for our constituents, young children. I help in the local football club and cricket club, and this is really, really sad. And I'm really disappointed that this administration, this Liberal Democrat administration, thinks that whenever they need any money, they can just get the residents to roll over and give you more money. Don't forget, Mr. Mayor, this Liberal Democrat administration paid £1 million for 2 properties in my ward that sat empty for more than 1 year. £1 million, and you probably borrowed money on that, so you're probably paying interest on that as well. And now you're saying that you need to find savings, and you're going to screw over the local football clubs and the children in this city, Mr. Mayor. So I'd really appreciate it if they can go back to the drawing board and reconsider this, because this is sad.
Thank you, Councillor Patel.
And we didn't vote for this, Mr. Mayor. Let's just be clear. We did not vote for this. They voted
Thank
for
you,
it.
Councillor Patel. Have you got
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, what's the question, please?
Will the council, will this administration go back to the drawing board and reconsider this 52% price hike that is going to finish off, tear the roots out of grassroots?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Patel. Councillor Field to reply.
Thank you, Mayor. This increase in fees and charges and these increases were actually already debated and passed by full council in February, and they were deemed at the time to be necessary. And I understand that MHCLG are actually observing these meetings and are very concerned about opposition councillors actually being on board with the tough decisions that this administration has to make. Now, I don't believe that we are making residents pay for these services. A lot of these things are discretionary, so garden waste, sports pitches, not everyone plays football. I'm a taxpayer. I pay my council tax, which incidentally only went up by 2.99%, which was the maximum we could do, but it was still lower than inflation. I pay my taxes, just as all councillors in this room do, but I understand that I will be paying for public goods with that. I'll be paying for other people to enjoy certain services, and that's how it works. We have to do a bit of subsidising of other things, but I don't believe that we should continually be losing money year after year on recycling boxes that we gave out for free at a cost of £260,000 a year to this council. I don't believe that we should be subsidising people who want to play sports, although we obviously want to help, but we can't pay the whole cost. There has to be some give and take. And I don't believe that if people want to have an allotment, that's up to them. I'd love to have an allotment. I haven't got one, but I would know that if I had one, I'd have to pay for it. That's how it works, I'm afraid, in a democratic society.
Thank you. Councillor Gravels.
Okay, so looking at the clock over there, 3 minutes, 39 seconds. So thank you for all your filibustering, but you do it scrutiny to ensure there's no time left for questions. That's really regrettable. So here comes a question, don't worry. So I had a meeting 2 or 3 days ago with the allotment holders, and they were obviously very angry at what they see as an unfair increase in their rents. Just be patient, Jeremy. You were just...
Right, members, please, can we please not shout across the chamber?
So
Councillor Gravels has got their seat, so can we let him talk?
With the allotment holders, and they were seriously angry at these price hikes. And it's not just that, Mr. Mayor, it's the way some of the other services like water things have been added and percentages changed and all the rest of it. But they were very pleased at the U-turn that this administration has pulled by putting all of these charges on hold. That was very welcome. But the thing that makes me
most angry of all, I guess, is the arrogance of the leader in the cabinet in refusing to meet them face to face. So when I had the long email from the chair of the St. Bridge Association, the Allotments Association, the first thing I said to them was, we'll have a meeting with the leader. He can explain it and justify it. I emailed Councillor Hilton, and the reply I got was like, he put it through AI and said, send an email to Andrew Gavels, make it unpleasant, make it political. It ticked all the boxes, and if it was done, Mr. Mayor, addressing you carefully, you scored a hit. It was a most objectionable email. It was a most objectionable.
Right, Councillor Gavels, can you resume your seat? Second, can you resume your seat? 2 seconds as a point of order. Can we hear the point of order, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm referring to 1201 of our Constitution. Questions by members. A question should be put. This is not a point for discussion. Could the councillor please put his question? Thank you. Question, please.
Okay, can we move to the question, Councillor Gavels, please?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question to Mr. Hilton, for the second time of asking, will you meet representatives of the Allotment Society? Will you meet them face to face and explain to them why you're hiking their charges up, why there are issues around water charges? Meet them face to face and don't duck it.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton, to reply.
The Councillor Gravels asked me the reasons for the fee charges going up, and I explained it to him. I haven't refused a meeting. I just didn't agree to a meeting. I just sent him an information back, which went back to those who were complaining about the charges. Let's look at it. The allotments are charging at the moment 23 pence per square metre. It was going up to 39 pence per square metre, and we were asking the allotment holders to pay £10 a year for the provision of water from Severn Trent. It was done to try and cover the costs of the allotments. We are not making...
Councillor Hilton, sorry, 2 seconds. Can we answer, can we get put into the question? The question was, are you going to meet...
My way, Chair, Mayor?
Yeah,
I'll answer it my way.
Yeah, but the time's going on now, so can you go straight to the answer, please? Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Gavels?
When will you agree to meet the St. Bridge allotment holders with me? When will you do it? When will that meeting take place?
Okay, Councillor Hilton.
As I said, as far as the allotment fees are, they were agreed to go up in February. We found that there was a legal reason why we needed to delay it until May 2027. The price has gone up. I've explained in detail the reason why the fee charges have gone up. And Andrew Gavels is just causing trouble for the sake of causing trouble. And what is really disappointing is that we're trying to resolve the financial affairs of this council, and all we get from the Tories...
Okay, Councillor Hilton, Councillor Hilton. Councillor Hilton, can you please resume your seat? Please resume your seat as point of explanation by Councillor Gavels.
I asked the question and I'm waiting for the answer.
Okay, we've now run out of time for question time, but will Councillor Hilton like to indicate whether he's going to meet with the allotment?
I think individuals need to write to me rather than the councillor.
Okay, we now move on to questions to chairs of meetings. Members may indicate that they would like to ask a question by raising their hands. As before, I will endeavour to allow each member who has indicated to ask one question and one related supplementary question. Before allowing any member to ask a further question, questions should be put and answered without discussion, noting that we have 15 minutes to get through as many questions as possible. Questions must relate to the business or functions of the relevant committee and comply with the council's procedure rules. and the members' code of conduct.
Are there any questions for the chairs of committee?
Are there any questions for the chairs of committee? Councillor Steffi Chambers, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My question's for the chair of the planning committee. When we sit in planning committee, we have a set of regulations that we legally work from and we work down, and we've got various things that we deal with in regards to heat, etc. And I do understand, I think the government are working on a new set of regulations. Could we as a planning committee say that if planning committee would agree, that we would write to the government and ask them what they're considering in regards to regulations for heat, escape and cooling homes in our balconies, whatever we can do to make sure the government are considering the excess heat and how dangerous that is in the current regulations.
Councillor Conda, please.
Thank you very much. I think actually that might be a question for the Cabinet Member for Planning, but also maybe Environment as well. But I don't see why we shouldn't.
Okay, so is there a supplementary?
No, if we can write, I do think it's a plan. I was talking about the regulations. We sort of sit through the regulations, we tick it off when we're in planning committee. And at the moment, we'll be sat in planning committee passing things that suit that regulation that we know it could be dangerous. So that's my thought process.
Okay, it sounds like a question for a cabinet member of...
Because it's policy.
Because it's policy.
It's a policy question. But we've heard it and we've noted it. Yeah.
Okay, we've heard it and noted it.
Chairs of committee.
Are there any other questions for Chairs Committee? Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'd like to thank you for your conduct. It's fantastic. Thank you. This is to the Cabinet Member for Scrutiny. I note your fantastic chairmanship of the scrutiny meetings is really well appreciated, and the level of scrutiny is fantastic and phenomenal. The way you give everyone an opportunity to speak without cutting them down is much appreciated, so thank you for that. So I'll lead to my question. My question is, can we have an in-depth meeting on the deficit, Declan, of the £1.5 million deficit, if that's possible?
Councillor Chambers, can you resume your seat, please? We may have a point of personal explanation.
Yes, can I say that, amusing as it is, these sort of insulting nicknames are not...
Sorry, is this a personal explanation or point of order?
Deficit's not my name. Personal explanation.
Personal explanation. Okay.
Yeah, that's noted.
That's noted, thank you. Councillor Chambers, would you like to continue?
I do, and I apologise if the word deficit and Declan came in the same sentence. So yeah, we'd like to look into the 1.5 million deficit and get Declan along, if that's possible, to explain the situation. That's my first question, if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gravels,
Yeah,
please.
sure, we can take a look at that. I'm happy to talk to our finance team over there, our finance guru, who got commended by the LGA, and happy to take a look at that, Councillor. Okay.
And you got supplementary?
I do, thank you, Mayor. Also, I was wondering if it's possible if we could talk about the donut model and about how bad it was. And sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Chambers, what's the supplementary question, please?
Sorry, Mayor. I'll cut to the question. So the question is, will we get a specialised meeting and scrutiny on the donut?
Sorry, Councillor Chambers, sorry, it's not really appropriate for you to be eating and asking the question at the same time. Can we get straight to the supplementary, please? Thank you.
Apologies, Mayor. So would it be possible if we can have a specialised meeting and discussion on the terrible donut model, Greater Gloucester, which failed miserably, cost the taxpayer thousands and thousands of pounds, and was a complete waste of time? So we can have a discussion on why that was even went through, and why I think all parties, apart from the Lib Dems, voted for it. That'd be great. Thank you, Chair, and thanks again for being such a fantastic chair.
Thank you, Councillor Gravels.
So my answer to the Councillor is that, as you guys say at the top table, we'll take that away, Councillor, and have a look at it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Shervey, please.
Thank you. So, question for the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny. I often find that timings go over when presenting papers. You go over time, you go the 2 hours plus one, I think it might be. And quite often they feel rushed towards the end. So when I'm presenting a paper, quite often I'm not able to fully present it. What could you do to increase better scrutiny timings?
So you're getting a pat on the back, but I didn't actually hear all the question. So you're talking about items on the end of the agenda, is that right? Being rushed? Okay, so if you'd like to give some examples, we can look at them in retrospect and work out why. But we're not helped when it's suggested this evening that some of your answers, not you in particular, have been filibustering. And sometimes that's what happens at scrutiny. Members of the administration will filibuster to avoid any further questions. As far as we can do, we try to plan the agenda so that there is sufficient time and that there's no overrun. I hope somewhere in that sort of few sentences I've hit on what you were suggesting. But I do take seriously the amount of time we can put in on scrutiny and the amount of scrutiny we can do. What I also try to ensure is that I remember as chair, I have some discretion so that when it gets to 1 second at the end of the allocated amount of time, I don't just close it down. Some people in the administration enjoy just watching that clock, and as soon as the second hand gets to the exact point where question time ends, they just stop the cabinet member, they stop the elected member from speaking and do not know how to exercise any discretion. Hope I'm never like that. I try to let everybody have their say. Hope that covers it, whatever it was. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Gravels.
Does it have a supplementary?
You got a supplementary?
No.
Okay. Are there any other questions for cabinet members? Councillor Chambers?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Gravels, I'd just like to say that please can you keep up the pre-meetings that you have before scrutiny? I find them very, very informative. I think they're great how we can all speak together as a committee before we enter scrutiny. And I think it's fantastic how you conduct those meetings before. I don't know any other committees that do that. I think you're the only one that does that. It gives everyone an opportunity to speak and make sure things that happen. So if possible, please, Chair, if you can continue that, that'd be great. What you're doing is fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Gravels to respond.
So I've noted that. But that's really a good observation that the pre-meetings are helpful because it ensures that everybody gets an opportunity to address the issues that they're passionate about. Then when we have the actual meeting, we're all fired up and ready to go. I think the worst thing that happens sometimes, not very often, Councillor, is that the officers prepare a very, very long report and we get to that item on the agenda and I say, item 9, who wants to speak? And everybody's looking at their feet. And it's so embarrassing when the officers have taken a long time and a lot of work to get, well, whether or not we get them on time is another matter, but that's something we've all taken up. But I think those planning meetings, Alistair, are helpful, and thank you for recognising that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gravels. Is there a supplementary? No.
Chairs of meetings.
Are there any other questions for chairs of meetings?
Okay.
No. Okay, moving on to item 9, cultural strategy. Councillor Courtney to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Bringing the cultural strategy for 2026 to 2036 to Council for approval. So Gloucester's first ever 10-year cultural strategy. Oh, am I doing my speech now? I'm doing my speech now. Yeah, cool. Was published in 2016, and it set out the ambitions for the cultural offering for our city and a plan for how they'd be achieved. And it's been instrumental to a lot of things, not least the creation of Gloucester Culture Trust, GCT as we often call it, who work with us to deliver our culture strategy, and they bring in a lot of funding into the city to support our cultural activities. It also helped to establish a creative community at Jolt, who do amazing work supporting and mentoring and providing workspace for people looking to pursue a creative career in the city. It's also brought in a considerable amount of public investment into the city's cultural sector, especially from Arts Council England. Arts Council England recognise us as a priority place, and in the last 2 years of the strategy, they invested over £7 million in the city's artists, our cultural organisations, our libraries and museums and so on, which is a huge amount. So it's been really successful, and it's imperative, therefore, that we produce a new cultural strategy to pick up from where that one left off. The actions and outcomes from the previous strategy are now all either complete or they're ongoing. And when I say ongoing, I mean in the sense that they don't have an end date. We're going to carry on doing them because it's the right thing to do. The new cultural strategy, we've tailored it to Gloucester's identity and ambitions, and it's been developed in partnership with residents and organisations across the city. So more than 600 people have contributed to the development of this strategy over the past year, and that includes residents, it includes artists, organisations and the various stakeholders across the city. And it establishes a clear ambition for Gloucester to become a city alive with culture, making good things happen for people and place. And it recognises the important role that culture plays in improving quality of life for people, supporting their health and well-being, and strengthening community cohesion. And it's really important to note as well, this is a cultural strategy for the whole city. It's not just for the parts that this council are responsible for delivering. Some of the projects will be delivered jointly with our partners in the city, or maybe even without any involvement from the council, other than as a stakeholder with a vested interest, because we're interested in seeing other organisations succeed with their cultural endeavours, because it benefits the whole city and it benefits our residents. So this is why the broad consultation that took place was so important. It mentioned a number of projects specifically that we aspire to achieve, and like I say, some of those are aspirational. They're not all ones that we've made a firm commitment to deliver. And in this, I include, for example, the possibility of considering Gloucester a bid for City of Culture in the future. We should have bold ambitions. We should want more for our residents and for our city. It's ambitious, but it should be. This is a 10-year strategy after all. And it will only proceed if we can demonstrate that we have the budget, the resources and the support of our cultural partner organisations in place to support it. So these are plans for the future. Having said that, the things included in the strategy are by no means an exhaustive list. The purpose of this document isn't to specify every project that we're going to work on over the next 2 years. It's to set out our vision and our approach and how we're going to work collaboratively with our residents and with our cultural organisations to make sure that we're delivering the best outcomes for them, for our city. And further projects and details will get added year on year. This strategy will be passed on to the unitary council that follows after us. And we don't yet know what that will look like, what the culture service or funding arrangements will look like. So we have to make sure that a council that will be looking beyond just Gloucester in the future, when considering its cultural outcomes, is fully aware of what Gloucester residents and Gloucester organisations are
30
crying
seconds,
out
Councillor
for
Courtney.
and are committed to working with us to help deliver. So I hope you'll all support this strategy, which a lot of residents and organisations across the city have spent a lot of time helping to develop, and which will go a long way to helping us create the vibrant, beautiful, exciting city that we all want for our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Is this seconded? Councillor Hilton, would you like to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll speak now, just to say that I welcome this new cultural strategy that will run until 2036. And as Caroline said, it will be taken over by the new unitary authority in 2028. So having this cultural strategy and a whole load of projects in mind to hand over to a single county unitary with 110 members really is helpful, because it means there's something there to argue for and to push for in that new unitary authority. The danger of not passing this today is that we wouldn't have anything to hand over and we wouldn't have projects in mind. And just looking at the sort of work and things that we've got planned before the new authority takes its vesting date, we're hoping to mark the 200th year of Gloucester Docks and also the 700th year of the burial of Edward II in Gloucester Cathedral. It mentions on number 4 that we're working on the Greyfriars Cultural Centre and Performance Space. We're making good progress on that project, the first aspect of that is to complete the new indoor market, which I think is, we hope to do by next year, and for the cultural event space to be ready for 2028. So by the end of this council, this should be up and running, and that will be a great addition to Gloucester's offer, with a 600 to 700 space standing room and 450 space venue. It means we might be able to attract bigger acts that we can't get at the moment, or we can only get at the moment in outdoor venues, and we know what happens with the weather in the UK. We can't always be sure about it. But there's also a mention of the public art strategy, which we've already approved, and we're looking at the BHS concrete murals to see whether we can relocate them in the Greyfriars project. And we're looking to work much more closely with the University of Gloucestershire on our cultural offer. There's also work which we need to do in working through, and probably something that will be taken over by the new authority, about how the Museum of Gloucester is transformed, and getting that a much more effective museum than we've got at the moment. And maybe a unitary authority will have a large one will have more funds available than Gloucester City Council's got. And also on 22, it mentions the city master plan and how we're looking at that will be ready for this autumn. Again, that will be presented to the new council about how Gloucester can be developed, how we can deal with the buildings that are not being properly used and the redundant buildings to make much better use of Gloucester's built environment. That is a project that is progressing well, and we hope to be able to report back at the end of this year on that. So we are working on things, and the cultural strategy is there as an ideas sheet of things to work through. Obviously, when projects come forward, we need to check the funding for it, we check whether we've got the capacity to do it, check whether we need to hire people to come in and carry out the work. We've hired people to come in and help us with the Greyfriars project because it's a specific one. We got the money from the government, and that was really good that we got the money from the government, and that I think we all supported. I did, went in opposition, the Greyfriars project, and I think it's going to be really good when it's finished. And to have a brand new indoor market and a brand new event space, I think is going to be great for the city of Gloucester. So I hope we can support the cultural strategy so that we can pass it on in 2 years' time to this new unitary council.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. We've got an amendment from the Conservative Group, Councillor Steffi Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. This amendment's been slightly changed with officers this evening just to make sure we all understood what it was trying to achieve. So I'll briefly explain what it is trying to achieve, this amendment. So this amendment is recognising that cultural services is a discretionary service that this council puts on for residents here and further afield. And we were criticised earlier saying MHCRG are concerned that opposition members won't make the difficult decisions. Well, it's not about difficult decisions, it's about priorities. So you're saying that sports pitches and allotments, they should never be funded by this council. They should all be covering their own face and washing their own face. However, not all these cultural things will. So it is about choices. And I'm not saying that cultural services do not bring any brilliant things to this city. They bring economic benefits, they bring fun and excitement, education. They do great things, and I don't for 1 minute doubt that. And I love theatre, I love all sorts of things. I love music. Everybody does. Nobody can say they don't love all good fun things. But we do need to make these difficult decisions. So my amendment here is where we had to make a lot of budget amendments, revise the budget. The community budget now has 1 member of staff. Now that is dire, that is sad. So what I'm saying is the one thing that this strategy should do, where possible, because I understand it's being done with partners, should incorporate this council's priorities. So things that the community's budget would have covered, they should be looking at things like that to cover those things as well. It should be bringing in economic benefits. And very, very important is, as we are working with all different partners, and that's large partners and small, and the smaller ones we should be supporting more, we need to make sure that safeguarding runs throughout this strategy. That is an important point, and it's not always happened, and there has been incidents, and you can't protect everything, and I get that, but we should have priorities in place where safeguarding is made forefront of these events, where you've got lots of children, disabled people or vulnerable people running around, excited, having fun, and sometimes people that aren't so nice might attend those events as well and put them at risk or harm. And then the other thing as well that we'd like to add is that this running through this cultural strategy is about disabilities and making as much as possible every event accessible to all. So they're the things that we wanted to put in it. So it's a friendly amendment, and it is to note that some of these things are done within delivery of the council services as well. However, we wanted to say that as members, this is what we feel is very important for this strategy. It's not costed as yet, nothing's costed. And the other thing was that any costed events be brought back through the appropriate decision making, because at budget setting times, we are held and our hands are tied to certain things and grant funding that's had certain conditions to it. Hence why cultural couldn't, as a discretionary service, couldn't be more cut, and communities and other things took higher cuts. Housing took a cut in the budget and the revised budget. So we do need to be careful, and we do need to set our priorities. As fun as this could be, we need to make sure that we look for funding elsewhere and not through this council's budget.
Thank you, Stephanie Chambers. Is there a seconder? Councillor Patel, would you like to speak now or reserve your right? Reserve the right. Is the amendment accepted by Councillor Courtney?
Yes, I have no objection to anything you've written there. Thank you, Steph.
If that becomes a substantive motion, and we now move on to debates. Any debates? Councillor Lewis?
Thanks. Having been in Caroline's role, I know what it's like, but she said about when it was started 10 years ago and this, that, and the other. I just want to put on record about Lee Snokes, who actually started a culture trust, and it was a great inspiration to bring in a lot of the money and whatever. And hopefully I can take a bit of credit for some of it, but I think Lisa was the one that actually started it. I agree with her. This is a great city. It should be aspirational about shouting our culture to everybody. And I do think if you can get the city culture off the ground, please do. I'll be there supporting, I'll be dressed up like an idiot, same as normal. But if you could try, we tried once before, and we tried to include like Cheltenham, Cirencester, places like that could, maybe a county of culture. Might split the cost a little bit, which is obviously one of the things tonight, but it might help bring in other benefits and money from other parts of the county. And as it's going to be a one unitary county, you never know your luck, do you? But I would say, yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. It is a document that the new council will have to work to, and it does set out our aspirations of what a great city and great county this is. So thank you very much for that. But I just wanted to put on about Lisa and people like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Councillor Chamber-Drus.
Thank you, Mayor. Overall, I think it's a really good thing. I today was out in Gloucester, and obviously it's a beautiful day, and it just looked great with all the signage up for the Sound of Summer, I think it was, and something. What was it, Geek Out or something? Not totally sure what it was, but there were lots of people interested looking at notices and things like that. And, there is always something going on, whether that's something that's arranged by the council or arranged by other people. There's always something going on. something to look at, something interesting in a window somewhere to do with our culture and our art. And it really livens the place up, and that's just amazing to see. Yeah, it brings joy and hope. Now, the only concern I have with this, and it's similar to what Councillor Chambers was saying about this, is things like the City of Culture in an ideal world would be a really, really wonderful thing to have. And I can see the value of it bringing people in and bringing money into our city. But at the moment, we need to be so careful, because to bid for something like that, it costs. It's one of those things where you've got to speculate to accumulate, but accumulating, it might not happen. My concern with this is that things are scrutinised properly before decisions like that are made. I think it would be wrong for things where it's going to involve potentially a large outlay, whether financial or whether in staff hours, to bid for something that actually we may or may not be successful in. It would be wrong to do that without being really, really sure that it's not to the detriment of smaller groups, smaller events and things like that. Yeah, because it would be sad. Yeah, we've seen some great things. Yeah, there was, I couldn't go, but something in Treadworth last week on the Friday, which I was told was amazing. I was gutted I missed it. And there are so many lovely things, and it would be a shame to lose those almost for a vanity project. So we do need to make sure that everything is
30 seconds.
scrutinised. Thank you.
Councillor Pullen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just building on the points that Councillor Chambers Deboost made about the City of Culture. And some members in the chamber tonight will know that a previous bid was considered for City of Culture back in 2020. And the cost to put the bid together was in the region of £500,000. And to quote a term earlier, that's cheap.
Marshall.
Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with LGR in force, it's going to be a unitary council, I really hope that this cultural strategy will be within the heart communities, because last Friday I went to the Swoosh event by Striker Light down Treadworth High Street. It was absolutely wonderful. It was just everything about what the arts is, and it was so simple, simplistic, and you had the whole Hyde Street come up alive. And I agree that Jolt is a fantastic place for young people and neurodivergent people and artists, residents of the city to use. It's fantastic. But I just do worry that this whole cultural strategy might be a bit overambitious, and I hope that we just make sure that we don't overspend the money and it's used wisely. And that we put the money into the areas where we're facing the most health inequalities, such as Barton and Treadworth, Matson, Moorland, Kingsway, all across the city. And another thing, the Olympus Theatre, it's so beautiful and it's been closed for years and there's no money to reopen it. And it just makes me feel so sad that we can't. But again, there's no money, and I just feel really passionate about that. Thank you.
Councillor Sherby, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gloucester's culture strategy is once again showing what can be achieved when we commit to culture and history of this city. It shows that the Arts Council has real confidence in this city. That confidence is reflected in the 3.8 million of investment secured in the last year, and hopefully more ongoing. The new cultural strategy builds on that success we've had in the past, and I think that's something that we should be proud of. My long-standing view is that health and housing is intrinsically linked, but so is culture. It brings people together, it strengthens communities, it brightens people's day, and it gives them a sense of belonging to this city. It celebrates heritage and drives our economic growth. With some major projects in the planning, such as the Greyfriars Culture Centre, it really does show that culture in this city is here to stay. Gloucester's cultural strategy is one of ambition, partnership and pride. The strategy shows that when we invest in culture, we invest in the long-term success of this city. And I'm very proud that we have such a good culture strategy.
Thank you. Any other debates? Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm not really going to say that much, but I think we all must remember it's tempting to think Gloucester is a cathedral city, but in fact, there's an awful lot more to it than that. And I would say the majority of culture is actually out in the communities. We mentioned briefly Lisa Noakes from a generation ago now almost. Unfortunately, yeah, hard to think. But, you know, the previous strategy that we had, there's no doubt it did bring a lot of investment into the city and it brought a lot of business and money. And it also, I think, it made a great awareness within the communities themselves because we've got a hugely diverse community. And that event in Treadworth last week looked absolutely tremendous. I didn't actually know about it. I wish I'd have known about it because it looked almost like a mini Notting Hill. It was fabulous. And of course, last Saturday we had the Filipino Heritage Day, which was also brilliant again. Different diversities there all coming together. And it's absolutely fabulous, must be celebrated. So we need to enable all that. We need to sort of get as much of it as possible. And this strategy is going to be, you know, I've heard the criticism it might be too ambitious. I would rather aim for the sky, even if we only hit the ceiling. Just think big and see what we can do. We will have constraints. We know that budget-wise. But there might be a limit of what we can do, but we also can bring in a lot of money as well. So I've no doubt that if we adopt this strategy, and it'll be something that we will have and something that we'll be able to hand over to the new unitary authority. The fact of the matter is if we've got nothing to hand over to them, it'll all be lost. But we've got a vision there. If we all get behind it, we will have something to hand over, and then they will see more clearly what Gloucester is all about. Because my worries about the new mega council is that we might get lost because it'll be such a big council, and we have to make sure that we give them a biggest picture of what it is that we want, and we're strong and we defend it. So I would really recommend this strategy. It will bring a lot of investment. It'll bring a lot of grants and people like the Arts Council, etc., into the city, which we can all benefit from. But it must be there. We must have the vision there in the first place. So I would hope that we will support it and that we can go ahead with it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other debates? Councillor Fields.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a really excellent piece of work, and it's really important in the city that we do place an emphasis on our history, and particularly for me, that involves the history of the civics. I find it really interesting, the number of things that are unique about Gloucester. So we have several members of royalty buried in the cathedral. We had a relationship with King Richard III. He gave us our charter that codified how we elect our mayor. We had William the Conqueror launching the study that became the Domesday Book from Gloucester in 1087 in the Parliament rooms, and many more things like that. Writers, we had W.E. Henley here, who wrote Invictus, which you will have no doubt seen on films and in Gloucester on the poems at the Crypt, St Mary de Crypt and at the Crypt School. Ivor Gurney, poet and composer, born just by Boots, where Boots is now. He lived in Gloucester from 1890 to 1937, and he was a great composer and friend of Gloucester, and of course, friend of the Three Choirs Festival. I could go on and on about the music, and you expect me to do that, but I think also we have a modern relationship with writing, art and music that is really up and coming as well. The Guildhall is a fantastic venue. We'll have Greyfriars as well in the future. And I do think we should be ambitious about City of Culture. We have looked at it before. We've decided against it a couple of times before, but I think the conditions have changed slightly. We've got a better relationship with the Culture Trust that exists now, and it wasn't necessarily in place before when we wanted to do this. We've also got this great relationship with the Arts Council, which is levering in all this funding. And of course, the terms of the award have actually changed, so that if you get City of Culture, I believe you win a prize of £10 million, which would obviously be amazing to actually put on that festival. I think part of the problem is you will get this investment. If you get it, you'll get millions in investment and tourism and visitors, and it will be a massive influx. But actually getting the money to stage it in the first place can be quite taxing for cities. So I think it's really important that we have a go, but we think about it. Think big, which is what we're doing. But don't crowd your horizons too much.
Thank you. Any further debates?
Councillor Hyman.
Councillor Hyman?
Yes, by using this cultural strategy and working with all the voluntary organisations that do a lot for culture in Gloucester, by working in partnership with them, this could be a success. But this authority finishes in 2 years, so I hope that we can persuade the new authority to keep on with it till 2036. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debates?
Back to Councillor Courtney to sum up.
Okay, Councillor Courtney would like to sum up.
Yep, the amendment was accepted. So, but you can speak in the debate.
Do you want to speak? Okay, Councillor Patel, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see that overwhelmingly everyone in the chamber is in favour of this strategy. I think it's a good strategy. Gloucester has a very rich diversity, and we should be proud of that. And long may that continue. And but I do have some serious concerns about the City of Culture bid. 1 minute we're talking about we can't afford to subsidise football clubs, grassroots football clubs, allotments, damage really been a replacement. And then on the other hand, we're talking about spending a minimum of £500,000 of taxpayers' money. It's probably more than that, because this £500,000 figure was one that Councillor Hilton quoted in 2020. So it's probably more around £1 million figure by now, I would imagine. So where is this council going to find £1 million of taxpayers' money so that you can go ahead and put in a bid for the City of Culture? Have you not learned your lessons, Mr. Mayor? Have they not learned the lessons? We've just wasted all that time and money, completely waste of time on this LGR and the donor proposal, which was a complete farce, really, and rightly so. The government minister came up with the right option, in my mind, which is the single unitary. But if I can just point you out, Mr. Mayor, to 2020, in a press article, just going to find it. The leader of this current council has said in a meeting, a City of Culture bid would be all-consuming and the authority cannot cope with it, something like that. And it goes on to say, Councillor Hilton said in the meeting, a bid would be all-consuming as officers told us it would cost £500,000 just to put the bid together before we even fight the contest with the other councils. We would have to do a whole load of things well in order to be a success in bidding for the City of Culture. I just don't think this council has the capacity at the moment. That was in 2020. How the hell does this leader of this council think that we have the capacity now? We don't have any money and we don't have any resource and officer time. And you want to put in an officer for bid? You want to put in a bid for City of Culture? That's absolute madness. It's absolutely crazy. Why should, Mr. Mayor, why should taxpayers pay to subsidise?
30 seconds, Councillor.
Why should taxpayers pay to subsidise? Just like taxpayers, Councillor Field said that he shouldn't have to subsidise the cost of children and grassroots football clubs and cricket clubs, etc., playing in our city. Why should people who have no interest in the culture should be paying from their council tax for the City of Culture bid? It's ridiculous, Mr. Mayor. Do the right thing. Don't go ahead with this. It's madness. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. Have the council seriously lost their brains in this?
Thank you, Councillor Patel. Your time is up. Thank you. Councillor Conda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think we've gone down a...
Sorry, yeah.
Just to say, this report is proposing consideration of that, but frankly, a decision on whether to bid for the City of Culture will be made by the new unitary authority. It will have substantial...
Okay, that's noted and accepted. Thank you. Councillor Conda.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I was going to say that talking about bidding for City of Culture was taking us down a rabbit hole, which I think is irrelevant to this particular matter. But can I just mention that we have this year, at the end of this month, a cultural festival that comes to the City of Gloucester every third year, which is, of course, Three Choirs Festival. So please be aware of that. And also to mention another venue that a lot of people don't know about, which is the Ivor Gurney Hall, which is behind the cathedral. It's a small but perfectly formed music venue where a society that I'm a member of, the Gloucester Music Society, holds 6 concerts a year in the winter season. And we're coming up to, I think, the 97th season this autumn. So please be aware of that. If you want high quality music on a Sunday afternoon in winter when you wouldn't be doing anything else, come to the Ivor Gurney Hall. And so I think we should remind our residents that we have a magnificent cultural festival every 3 years anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alistair Chambers.
Firstly, before I go into the negatives, I want to just do the positives. I think Caroline Courtney's doing a great job with culture. I think her heart's and passion's in it. I've attended a few meetings. I've seen Caroline there, not culture, other meetings. So I know she does a lot in her ward. And I've seen quite a lot on social media that she does. So this isn't anything personal to anyone. But I think exactly what Sarge has been saying. I think that this is hypocrisy. We looked at it. We didn't have the money. We just found another 1.5 million black hole. Have we got the money now? No, we don't. Calm down, Angela. We're in the top 20%, the top 20 cities for violent crime. We've got the highest homeless. We've got the highest rough sleepers. We've put up allotment charges. We've put up pitch charges. This is not fair. So let's just have a quick look at what the Gloucester residents are saying. The BBC put an article out about the City of Culture. Another council, but this is important because this is what the public's actually saying. Another council vanity project. Somebody says no. Somebody says something I'm not going to say. Take a trip around the city centre. There's certainly a lot of specimens about that could be cultured. Yes, definitely. No, that's one positive. Maybe in a Petri dish. City of knitters. No, because the council can't protect or repair the culture we already have. That's a big point. Someone's having a laugh. I hope so. That's another good one. Yes, with drug just in front of it. City of drugs. No, it's a hole. So this is going on. Like literally out of about 100, I think there's 200 public comments on Gloucestershire, BBC Gloucestershire. And out of those 200 comments, I think there's probably about 6 positive. So you're looking at like what, 98% failure. So I'd say for me, it's a no. Spend the money on homeless. Let's get the homeless off the street. Spend it on the rough sleepers. Let's get them sleeping out the doorways at the bus station. Let's get them sleeping out of the streets around in Kingsholm littered in them. The garden, the cultural garden, yeah, that was fitted, the community project is full of homeless people. I counted 14 in there the other day. I got photos of it and I spoke to them. And you're worrying about a vanity project rather than getting people actually beds, people to somewhere safe to sleep. You're not worrying about sport pitches and kids growing up and playing sport. You're more worried about a vanity flag or whatever badge you might get from it. Jeremy Woods already went against it. He already said it was not enough money.
30 seconds, Councillor.
So why is there money now, especially when we're in a near bankruptcy? So I support Sarge. I wasn't going to say anything, but what you said, Sarge, made me think. Cheers.
Okay, just a quick reminder, we're bathing the cultural strategy, not the City of Culture bids, okay? So, any further debates? Councillor Sawyer, please.
I wasn't going to speak, but I feel like we've gone off on various tangents. So can I remind people the importance culture has on economic regeneration? It regenerates areas of, urban areas that want regeneration. It brings in money, it brings in visitors. This is an aspirational strategy. We would never do anything if we haven't got the money to do it. We would do it in a sensible, balanced way. We will get funding. This is not just something we're going to start doing tomorrow. This is something it's over many years. But culture is one of the key things to regenerate our city. And I think some people think culture is kind of highbrow, things for rich people. It's not. It's for everybody. It will impact everybody in a positive way. People who live here, visitors. And putting down culture is just so short-sighted because it's a key part of our future. And of course, we're not just going to spend money we haven't got on it. That's not our style. Okay, we would do it in a sensible way, but it's just this is an aspirational, and we should aim for the City of Culture. Why not? Other cities have got it. Why not Gloucester? We're more than capable of getting it. So I think as councillors, we need to big up our city and have big ambitions for our city.
Thank you. Councillor Wiederhold next, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I got an email recently from an ex-colleague of mine who's a resident of Greater Gloucester, Churchdown, and he's working on with a consultation on the Gloucester festivities for the 200 years of the docks. And one of the things I think about is remembering Charles Wheatstone, who was born in Barnwood. He is one of our greatest scientists. He invented the concertina as well as the Wheatstone Bridge. I think it would be great to see a bridge in Gloucester named after Wheatstone. That's a physics pun which might be lost on a number of us. Culture is not just about music and art and statues. It's also about our history and where we come from and how we've got to where we are. And I think it would be great to remember people like Charles Wheatstone in our culture as well. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Steffi Chambers, please.
Thank you. I'll speak quite quickly because I spoke on the amendment. We are supportive of a strategy. What we are very concerned on is the cost that some of these things in the strategy might cost. And I've been going backwards and forwards with officers, asking questions and trying to get detailed understanding. So we are very sensible in how we're looking at this. But what we do need to understand is when this council cannot fulfil its statutory obligations, then it cannot look at these aspirational things. However much this report itself, although funded, cost £11,500 to produce, plus officer time. So we do need to watch what we're doing, and it's good to be aspirational, but we've got to watch every penny, and I understand that. And we've got to remember we're looking at sports field costs, and we're criticised because we don't want to support those fees going up, and we wouldn't in the budget, and the allotments. Now, these are things that will bring about health benefits as well. Really, we've just been heard this week that our children in our country are some of the most obese in Europe. Now, that is a really sad situation to be in, Mr. Mayor. And I think it's not that we don't support these things, and it's not that we don't want these things in our city. We love our city. I've lived here my whole life, and I support anything that can really support this city. And I understand the benefits of culture. But like you said, we've got to make the difficult decisions, and this may be one of the difficult decisions. And I think spending any time on City of Culture right now would be the wrong thing to do.
Any further debates?
Councillor Courtney.
No, Councillor Courtney to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, everybody who's contributed to this debate. I really do appreciate all of your opinions and suggestions and endorsements too. And I'm glad that people are generally supportive of the strategy itself. And I would agree with you, Councillor Chambers. We do need to be ambitious, that the highest standards we set for ourselves are the highest that we can achieve. So if we set our standards too low, that's the most we're ever going to get. So I don't think it hurts to have ambition. Of course, we are sensible enough not to commit ourselves to anything that is beyond our ability to fund it. And this strategy doesn't commit us to doing anything. I'm really glad the City of Culture potential for putting a bid in has got so many people talking. It's making us question, are we able, are we there? Are we really someone who could consider ourselves worthy of that or capable of that? And I think we should consider that maybe we're not today, or maybe we are, but we could certainly build towards that. And just to reassure people, it's not something we're going to start working on right away, because we won't be asked to apply for it until 2029. So it's not even going to be in this council. It's going to be in the next council to decide. But I think, Councillor Patel, you kind of answered your own question when you were saying why we didn't apply for it last time. You were saying we're not there yet. We'd have to do loads of things a lot better for us to be in a position. Well, we are doing things a lot better. We've really moved on a long way in terms of how we deliver culture. Over the last couple of years, the number of events and the variety of events that we put on for our residents in all of our neighbourhoods. We're hearing about Smoosh in Barton and Tredworth, and they've had lots of really great events over the last few years. So has Matson. So have lots of our neighbourhoods. We're doing a lot more than we used to. We've come on a long way, and we've got really good partnership working going on now with Gloucester Culture Trust, with the University of Gloucestershire, with Gloucester Beard, with Canal and River Trust. We're working in a much better way. We're doing a lot of the things that we should have been doing when we first started considering it. So I don't think it's an ambition too far. Obviously, we'll have to see how things are looking. We'll have to fundraise for it. We'd have to get the rest of the city behind it. But there's no reason that we shouldn't have ambition for this city, because it is a fantastic city, and we have so much culture, heritage to share. It would be a shame to sit on that and not share it with everybody else.
Okay, so we now move on to the vote. The motion as amended. Those in favour? Any against? That's unanimous. Okay, move on to item 12. Appointment of honorary recorder. Councillor Hilton to move.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just bringing this report to full council. The resolution is that Judge Rupert Lowe be appointed to the role of honorary recorder for Gloucester during his tenure as resident judge at Gloucester Crown Court, following the conclusion of Judge Ian Lowry's tenure as resident judge. The council also passes a vote of thanks to Ian Lowry for the period in which he was the honorary recorder. Just a bit of background information. An honorary recorder is an unpaid ceremonial office created to maintain and develop close links between councils and the judiciary, and to encourage an understanding of the judicial system among the community. The functions of honorary recorder include attending ceremonial and civic functions and inviting members of the council to attend judicial events. Lord Chief Justice is keen for councils to use the power available to them to make such an appointment. When I saw the name Rupert Lowe, I also remember the name of a politician, and we did double check that it wasn't the same person. It's not, and he doesn't look the same as the other chap either. So we're quite confident we've got a really good chap to be the honorary recorder. Paragraph 3.5 gives you a bit of biographical detail on him, and just to say, the monitoring officer wrote to Lord Justice Green on behalf of the council, who's a more senior position, and has received no objections to the appointment. So I commend this appointment to council, and I hope that we can all support it.
Thank you, and is this seconded? Would you like to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll reserve the right.
Thank you. We go on to debates. Any debates? Councillor Pullen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to build on the points that Councillor Hilton has made, really, and thank Judge Ian Lowry for his previous role as honorary recorder, and content to support Rupert Lowe to the role. And absolutely, we recognise that this is an unpaid, voluntary position for this authority. So we do appreciate that, and the links, obviously, that the role makes between councils and the judiciary. So we are content to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steffi Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I've had a look and had a read, and it's quite interesting to know a little bit more about our judges here. And I've watched Judge Lowe in action quite a few times when I've been at the court. And I didn't know he did his law degree at the same place I did my LPC, so that was quite interesting to know as well. But I'd just like to say what I think and what I didn't know, and I don't know whether this council will be able to do something with this. Within his role, I don't know how it's set up or how he does it, but speaking to some of the children, because the judiciary does seem like a really big, scary place to lots of people. And I think teaching young children about it, the judiciary is in a big stage of reform at the moment. And I think it would be great if Judge Lowe will get out there and speak to the community in some of the events, maybe with you, Mayor, and people can learn more about him, because I'm quite interested just to read about him there. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie Chambers. Are there any further debates? Councillor Wilson, would you like to speak now or reserve the right?
I'm fine. Thanks.
Mr. Hilton, would you like to sum up?
I think members are happy to support the recommendations. I've got nods around the chamber, so we'll take a vote.
Okay, we go to a vote.
Those in favour?
Those in favour? Those against? And again, that's unanimous. Yeah. Okay, moving on to item 13, Community Governance Review. Councillor Hilton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did debate this at the annual council meeting, but 10 members of this council requested that the matter be brought back to council. And we also had a members' briefing session, and also group leaders had a sit round a table and discuss this matter. And I think we now have an agreement that we think that we should go ahead with a community governance review. I think it's more appropriate now that we know that there's a single unitary county model. I think whether or not we have the charter trustees to choose and appoint future mayors for the city and sheriffs is the best way forward, or whether, frankly, having a town council for the city with town councillors to make the decision and to pick from amongst their own is a better option. But we don't know for sure, and the purpose of this consultation is to find out what the public's opinion would be. It would be a two-stage consultation process. So from the 3rd of August to the 13th of August, we would send out a survey. It would be online and in paper form and in person. That would just be the general principle rather than the discussions of the detail. The questionnaire will be approved after consultation with the 4 group leaders. So we will agree to the questions on that. I recommend that the questions were really quite good. The monitoring officer previously wrote, but quite clearly they were for 3 options, but now we know there's 1 option. I think it makes it probably better and makes it easier maybe for members of the public to understand and not get confused between LGR, etc. Once we've got that consultation back, we will discuss that through the General Purposes Committee, and hopefully we'll get a decision that members can agree to, whether or not we've got a firm proposal to go forward. If we've got a firm proposal to go forward as a recommendation, we would then consult between the 9th of November and the 6th of December. We're not in such a rush now because the structural change order is going to be presented to Parliament in December, and it doesn't come into play into law until March. So there is time for us to advise the government whether they wish to include a town council for the city of Gloucester in the structural change order. Now that town council could be could include Quedgley, or it could leave Quedgley as with its own town council, or it could be into separate parishes in the city. Though I think my gut feeling is the majority of people would want to stick together as one city. That would be my personal preference, because I think the importance of having that. But it's really important that we do get this process underway. We know that the Gloucester Association of Town and Parish Councils is in support of us consulting, and it will be something that I think was useful. And we know that Cheltenham Borough Council did the same some time ago, so that they're looking at the same thing. So it would be better that we did it rather than leave the new unitary authority to do it. There will be also in the question and answers, there will be information about what the likely
30 seconds, Councillor.
Would be for different various functions, just to give you an indication. But that's not. We can't actually say that in the actual consultation. We don't know until we've got to a point, and then it gets set up, and then frankly, it's a matter of what responsibilities the unitary authority might want to devolve to a town and parish council. It's likely to want to devolve more responsibility.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Your time is up.
Rather than a small parish.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton.
Members will support it.
Is that seconded? Would you like to speak now, Councillor Hilton?
Yes, please, Mayor. Thank you. Reading through the reports, and it's clear to me that the local government reorganisation itself does create uncertainty, although safe to say it's a bit less uncertain today than it was yesterday. But nonetheless, there's still lots of questions that we need to resolve. This review does not predetermine the outcome or impose parish councils on anyone. It simply begins a lawful and transparent process in which residents can express their views. It will also allow us to examine every available option for protecting Gloucester's historic traditions, including the offices of Mayor and Sheriff. I often look at that wall there and I see all the distinguished past holders of this office, some of whom sadly are no longer with us. I was about to say, especially on that side there, but then I realised, Andrew, you're there. But you are very young there, to be fair. You clearly were a young mayor. Oh, God, I'll just get myself out of this hole. The final decision ultimately will remain with full council after 2 rounds of public consultation. Approving the terms of reference therefore means listening before making any decision and ensuring that any future arrangements reflect the identity and interests of Gloucester's communities. And remember, there's all our ex-mayors from the past all staring at us tonight, and there's one, yes, Andrew, I see you, and I think good Ashley over here. So they're on the wall and they're here as well, and I'm sure they will have all interests in preserving those traditions which have served us well over so many years. So it's a question of consulting and doing the right thing, and this is really what we're asking for here. So hopefully everybody will support this.
Thank you. We now move on to debate. Any debates? Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. As it was mentioned, this was brought to the last council and it was voted against. And I believe there was some anger there about it not being passed at the last council. But we do need to remember that group leaders were emailed the working day before that council. This was a significant piece of work. The Association of Town and Parish Council had been spoken to, Quedgley Town Council had been spoken to, but we were left in the dark. Hence why it was voted against, because there just wasn't enough information there or explanation of what was happening and why it was happening. So I'd like to thank officers recently who sat down with group leaders, and we had a very good discussion and worked out how and what we would see as would be fit for part of the consultation. Because what we need to remember is actually we all sit in a little bit of a bubble. We're a council bubble sometimes, and to understand all the ins and outs of all what councils do isn't known by the general resident, not always. Except for some of our specialist residents sat there at the back, so who knows everything about our public life. So we would like to say that we are in support of this, but the consultation must be written in a way where the residents understand what is happening and what that means for them, and to be given the options and to understand. And I understand there's 2 stages of this, but there's agreement there to sit down with group leaders and sort this out. And I know one thing that is important to everybody in this room, and we need to ask the question of the residents if it's as important to them, is our civics. But it is very, very important to most people in this room. I can't say everybody because I can't know that. But one of the main purposes of LGR is to simplify local government system for residents. So we just need to make sure that that is going to be part of this consultation, and whatever result comes out in the local government review. When we sat down as group leaders together, I did mention as well that we do need to work collaboratively. And at that time, we were away at the conference, and I generally thought we were going to be looking at an LGR reform of East-West. And I said, I can honestly say to you, I will work together to do whatever we need to do under LGR to make sure this local government reform works as it must for residents.
30-second, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. So that's the one thing we all have to keep in mind now, is there were benefits of every option that was on the table to the government, and I can even say there were benefits of the Greater Gloucester model, Councillor Hilton. This model's been chosen, and then we need to look at the best way of parishing, but let's all work together to make sure we do the best for the residents now.
Councillor Karen James, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before I speak on the community governance review, I also, as Stephanie has, like to acknowledge that our objections to it at the previous debate were based on the way it was handled by the administration. And as a member of an opposition group, I do find sometimes that the administration doesn't encourage cross-party discussion of issues prior to them becoming a problem, and then tries to push them through at the last moment, which leads to entrenched positions and, in the main, bad decision-making. So our previous objection to the Community Governance Review was based on the way it was handled and the timing of its introduction. So I'm glad to say that these objections were heard, and we've since, as Mr. Hilton said, Councillor Hilton said, full council briefing on the issues. So now we can have a much more informed debate, and more informed indeed, as we now know the outcome of LGR to be a single unitary. So, having had the chance to discuss the issues, the timing and the content of the public consultation, the Labour group can now give its backing to the proposal with a couple of suggestions as to how it should take place. Firstly, it shouldn't just be an online exercise, because digital exclusion is a real problem, and everybody should have the chance to contribute their views, whether or not they have access to the internet. So old-fashioned pen and paper surveys perhaps should be made available to those who request them. And secondly, we need to take this consultation to the people, not expect them to come to it. So with this in mind, we should consider public meetings and perhaps attending events where people are already gathering for another purpose. Drop into community events or at pantries or exercise classes. Wherever there are people, we should be available to let them know how they can have their say. And as councillors, we can be instrumental in this, because we know what's happening in our wards. So we need to get out there and spread the word. The more responses we get, the more of a mandate we'll have moving forward. So just to conclude and confirm, the Labour group will be supporting this proposal this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shervey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This governance review is an essential step in our LGR journey. It strengthens local democracy, ensures residents' voices are heard, and ensures that the civics in Gloucester are protected. My understanding is that this council has a duty to keep our governance arrangements under review, and this is just one important part of that. This process gives residents a direct voice in how their communities are represented, including whether a new parish or town council should be created in the current unparished areas of the city. With LGR no longer on the horizon, it's very fresh given the announcement this morning, it's vital that we ensure strong, effective and locally rooted decision-making is maintained. The review also allows us to explore how best to preserve the roles of Mayor and Sheriff. This review ensures that we can consider all options based on facts and, importantly, residents' feedback. It's the residents' voices that are so important, so I do hope that we all support letting residents' voices be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debates? Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate what the Conservative group and Labour group have said. When paperwork's dropped on our laps last minute and we've been told basically you have to sign up or it's going to fail, is in no too short words what we get told. You can see why there's resistance and resentment on our side. You probably don't know that. You probably don't know the full story, that we've just been handed paperwork and said you've got to vote for this, support it or else. And that's not the way it should be. So likewise, we're all completely different now. We're in unity with you. We're backing it purely for the fact that we have been given time to discuss it. Issues raised, though, concerns from the independent group is how much will the parish cost people? I know people that monitor their electric bills every day. I know people that monitor their gas bills every day. I know people that struggle to put food on the table. These are residents of Matston White City, not so much in Robbinswood. And an extra £30 to £90 is a cost for Quedgley Town Council. So another £30 to £90 a year could be make or break for some families. Could be that extra holiday, could be a set of trainers for the kids. It could be something's going to give. And if not, they're going to get some nasty bailiffs coming on their door. I've seen some of the bailiffs in their action for this council, how they knock on the door for council tax, how they scare families into cupboards, how they worry children and scare people with increased costs. It's actually horrific how this council operates with their bailiffs. I missed a payment a long time ago and I had bailiffs at my door, and I tell you what, the guy was very, very aggressive, very, very nasty, very, very mean, very, very rude. And the moment I started recording him, he quickly disappeared off into his van. So it's not fair how these people operate. They're very, very, very nasty, very, very mean. And I'd hate to think families that are on the breadline not paying their council tax, how they're coping with these bailiffs. That said, £30 to £90 is a lot of money, and we do need in-person surveys and also social media accounts to ensure that people are finding out the truth about how much it's going to cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What you just mentioned, Councillor Chambers, actually sets me up perfect for what I was going to discuss. So at the briefing we had the other day, it was mentioned by officers that the services provided by parish councils, where we don't have them, will be provided by the larger unitary authority. And they have the powers to decide and impose a precept on the areas that are unparished for providing those services. So part of this, by making sure that we could have a parish council, would ensure that the decision-making of what that precept would be in the control of people from the city or from the areas within the city that those parishes represent, rather than handing that authority over to the unitary, where we may have members from the Forest and Cirencester and the outskirts of the county deciding how much extra people in the city should be paying for services that a parish could provide. I think I may be the only one here, although I have to be corrected if wrong, that has sat on a parish council in the city, formerly on Quedgley Town Council, and can see that the great value that brings to the area of Quedgley. Yes, we do pay a bit extra, but we get much more in value from having that town council than by not having it. So I think it's a great thing that we're doing this and getting the public's opinions on this. And I think we should do all we can to encourage people to engage and support having a parish council for either the city or areas within the city.
Thank you. Any further debates? Councillor Hilton, you'd like to sum up?
Yeah, thanks for what's going to be member support for carrying out a community governance review. Just to go back to some of the criticisms about how it was handled, it was a bit rushed, but this was because we needed to get the process done in time, and we couldn't do it before because at that time there was consultations on LGR. And the last thing we wanted to do is confuse the public about what we were asking for, because then the survey has it's not worth real value. But let's make it clear, this was not a proposal from the administration. This was a proposal from the General Purposes Committee that met on the 12th of May, on which the papers were provided 5 clear working days beforehand. And I remember saying to Terry that it was coming to the General Purposes Committee, and the General Purposes Committee then unanimously agreed to make that recommendation to full council. General Purposes Committee also at that time asked the Monitoring Office to provide a copy of the survey, which was provided to all group leaders on the Friday afternoon before the Monday meeting. So there was opportunity to consider the questionnaire. But I mean, the questionnaire was not the key principle anyway. It was just about, I mean, that could always be adjusted after if necessary. So that was the process that we went through. So what's happened now is that we've had a further briefing. We've had discussions in the group leaders. 10 members of this council asked for this to come back on the agenda. I agree it wasn't the best process and it was a bit rushed, but it wasn't because the administration was trying to do that. It was because the chair of the committee had the meeting. We discussed the proposals at the committee, and it was public documents. So every member of this council would have had advance warning, on the 5 days before. So that's the 7th of May. So it's almost a couple of weeks before the actual full council meeting. So it was
30
in the
seconds,
system.
Councillor.
It was in the system. It didn't surprise people. It wasn't something that was added to the agenda and nobody knew anything about it just one day before. It was a couple, 2 or 3 weeks before that we went through the process and started the process to put in the community governance. But thanks to members for saying that they're prepared to support this recommendation, because I think it is a worthy consideration.
Thank you. We now go on to the votes on the motion. Those in favour? Any against? And that's carried. We come to the time where members, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to break. Yeah. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break, so we'll be back by 9:05. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And may I congratulate both you and Madam Sheriff on your year so far and for everything you are doing to raise the profile of the civic offices. Great work, and thank you for that. First of all, I'd like to say that of all the seats that I've occupied in this chamber over the years, and I've been located in all four corners of the room, and even your chair, Mr. Mayor, I found that this place where I find myself now, that's where I feel most comfortable. As the only independent Conservative on council, I have a unique freedom to serve Gloucester in my own way. And as Mrs. Slocum from Are You Being Served would often say, I am entirely unanimous in that. You have to be of a certain vintage to get that one, but if you know, you know. As this is the first motion that I have ever proposed, I'm so glad that it's about someone as special as Terry Haynes. After his passing at the end of last year, Councillor Pam Tracy told me that, compared to her, I had only known him for 5 minutes. Well, Pam, if you're watching, even if that was literally true, that's all the time it would have taken me to see the calibre of the man and to appreciate how extraordinary he was. As many here will know, Terry was a former mayor, sheriff and long-serving councillor who had a passion for running, reading, history, music and dancing, and above all, for Gloucester. Although staunchly Labour, of course, he sometimes voted with other parties if he strongly felt that it would benefit the city more, and he's my absolute hero and role model for that. I have definitely taken a leaf out of his brilliant book. Back in January, amid the many tributes to Terry, I planted a seed about naming an annual race in his memory, and happily this has come to fruition. Gloucestershire County Athletic Club have already dedicated their cross-country relay races held at Plot Court to Terry, and I feel that it would be very fitting for this council to endorse and support their initiative. Through his love of sport, Terry inspired so many people across several generations, and I know that Councillor Rosanna Marshall was one of them. I trust that she will share her thoughts and memories of Terry with us this evening. As well as teaching me how to dance Cajun style, I've mentioned that before, it's something I will always treasure. Terry also showed me by his example how a good councillor should be, with his constant and quiet support for our city, often behind the scenes. He was a man of infinite integrity, generosity, good humour, warmth and kindness. It has always surprised me that Terry had never been put forward for an MBE. He certainly deserved one, in my view, but perhaps he would have been too modest to accept it. In Terry's case, MBE would also stand for Mentor and Benevolent Encourager to our city. His family and friends say that they would feel honoured by this endorsement for the naming of the race, so I hope that everyone here will support this motion for one of our leading and most cherished citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And is this seconded, Councillor Courtney?
Yes, I second the motion.
I'd like to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll speak now. So Terry Haynes meant a lot to many people in the city, and none more so than his family. And by that, I mean not only his relatives, but also his athletics family. And when you read the tributes that came pouring out after the sad news of his passing, you realise the huge scale of what he was able to achieve, in the sense of creating an athletics community across the county that felt supported, inspired, nurtured, valued and encouraged through his passion for athletics and his ability to bring out the best in people. not just as a coach at the athletics clubs, but also as a school teacher. He encouraged so many people into the sport and set them on a lifetime journey of fitness, personal development and achievement. He gave his time and his unstinting support to all, regardless of ability, and in all those he coached, he nurtured a deep love of the sport, and of biscuits, it would seem. He made people feel like they were part of a family. He had such a huge impact on so many people's lives. In the words of one resident, he was one of the great men of Gloucester. So it is fitting that he should be commemorated in this way by putting his name to the thing he loved and what he was loved for. I do hope that his memory and his legacy will go on to inspire many more generations of runners, and stories of his races, his deep commitment to the sport and his biscuits will continue to be told. So I have no hesitation in supporting this motion to add our support to Severn Athletics Club in honouring Terry by naming a race after him and by committing to share the story of his ongoing legacy through our own communications and media channels. And I'm sure you'll all do the same.
Okay, now on to debate. Councillor Lewis, please, first.
Thank you very much, Matt. I'm going to be doing this from the group. I've known Terry 20-something years now, and my great impressions when I was mayor with him, he got me down to Elmore to start a race. And I thought, well, is that appropriate? Because it's in Stroud, but what? We just went for it. And he was very appreciative. It actually stayed for the whole race. It was only going round the block sort of thing, but it was 2-3 hours. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the respect he was shown by the runners, and they weren't from just Gloucester, they were from all around doing a sort of proper one. You could see the admiration and the thanks that they were given for somebody who actually wanted to do this for them. And he brought that to the council chamber. He brought it to being mayor. You know, I think he was mayor when I was here, but my memory's going, I'm getting old now. But he's been a mentor to many a person in the Labour group, in the racing associations, just an occasion. From the Netherlands, they were going, oh, thank you, Terry. And it's just wonderful to see. And he will be sadly missed, you know, because he did a lot, not just for the civics, for Gloucester, for the racing, for the cage, you name it, he'd support you. He would be there at every annual council, because that's what he did. And from the Conservative group, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful tribute to him to have his name there on the lips of everybody every year. And maybe a street, I don't know, eventually, something, because this sort of person needs to be encouraged and thanked, and so the family can then be grateful for his life as well. So thank you for bringing the motion, both of you. I think it's a really good one, and thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Councillor Chamber Debus.
Thank you, Mayor. Terry was a dancer, he was a politician, he was a teacher, he was an athlete and a coach. But most of all, he was a friend. He was our friend. He was a friend to us all as councillors. He was a friend to the people that he coached, the children that he taught, and a friend to Gloucester and the people of Gloucester. Now, I think the idea of naming a race after him is really wonderful, and I'm glad that as a council we can endorse that. But we need to be aware, we've got 18 months of this council left, really, that's all. Can we not do something a little bit more tangible? Can we not, as well as naming the race, maybe provide a small trophy or something for the race so that legacy lives on? Yeah, I'm sure many people know him across the whole of Gloucestershire, but once we go unitary, there will be losing that closeness and familiarity of the endorsement that we'll be able to give whilst we're still Gloucester City Council. So, I'm really happy to support the motion, but I just think maybe it would be nice, whether that's something we get via the council, some sort of trophy, or something that is privately arranged among us all, that maybe we could just do something a little bit more tangible for his memory. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley, please.
I'm going for me. That's all right. So I think the best thing that I can say about this is that I was fortunate enough to attend Terry's funeral. And as you go into a big building, you find somebody you know and you make your way towards them. And so it was that conversation of what Terry meant to others. And I happened to stand next to a face that I knew, a trustee in a local organisation, and he explained to me how he'd been brought on by Terry. How, whether he liked it or not, he was doing the athletics, how his confidence had been grown, and that how he had seen the model to be an active citizen and that he had followed it. I hadn't realised that Terry was connected to this place until I kind of saw him at annual council tea and thought, what are you doing here? And he explained to me. And I always thought it was absolutely lovely that he would come to annual council and he would give each new council their best wishes. So I hope that we agree this. I think it would be a great thing to do for somebody that gave a lot of care and attention to our city.
Thank you, Sheriff. Councillor Hilton.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm quite happy to endorse the motion. I was unfortunate, really, that I never served on the council the same time that Terry did. So, because he served on the council for Barton and Tredworth between 1995 to 2002. I had my sabbatical from local government for about 8 years. And I came back from the county in 2001 and on the city in 2002. So I never actually enjoyed the pleasure of debating with him in council like that. Though I did know him well. He would often stop me in the street or wherever we were and give me some advice about what we should be doing on the council. Once he retired from local politics as such, and I do know that he was originally responsible for organising the Tredworth Road Race and was a founding member of the Severn Athletics Club. He was a great Gloucesterian, and I think the naming of a race after him is probably something that he would have liked. I think he'd think that more important than any other a way of remembering. I think to have a race, something he was quite clearly very passionate about, it was probably, Mr. Mayor, a really appropriate thing to do. So I'm quite happy to support the motion that Lorraine's brought to council this evening.
Thank you.
Councillor Hyman.
Councillor Hyman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first met, I first met him when I was the Sheriff and Deputy Mayor, and I was invited along with the Mayor to an athletic event at Plot Court. So there I was, all dressed up, ready to go with my chain on, not knowing I was going to be walking across a muddy field to see the runners. But, and then I've actually, I met him again when we had the Shrivelty meetings. The Shrivelty Association was formed by Councillor Gravels and is for current and previous sheriffs of the city, cities across England and Wales. And then he organised an event not that long ago for former civics and present civics, which was held at the Deanery in the Garden. Then I've also been on the Gloucester Charities Trust with him. We're both trustees. So I've known him in a few roles, and he was a really great guy to get on with, very intelligent, and knew a lot about history. Yeah, so he's sadly missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Marshall.
Councillor Marshall, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, well, obviously, I'm going to support this motion as he was a a fantastic man and a great councillor and just a general all-round good egg. And I'm sure that his brother Ken and his nephew Kevin and all the rest of the family will really appreciate this motion. So Terry, he motivates so many people in the running community, and he loved running. But one thing I will say in this race, and we've got to make sure, is that there are no runners with water bottles, because that is not a proper running race, in his opinion. He would get really, really annoyed about it. Like, people who have water bottles when they're running, they're not serious runners. So to do this race, you have to be a full-blown athlete, which I am not. I am a fair weather runner at the moment anyway. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of the running community will really appreciate this. And it does take a lot to put these events on as well. There's so much effort, health and safety. There is a lot of effort to put these events on. So I want to thank Gloucester Athletics and Severn AC for all they do. And thank you. And thank you, Lorraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shervey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't know Terry, but I'm really happy to support this motion, and I'm really happy with the spirit of what this motion achieves. It speaks to community, to service, and to the way that we choose to honour those who have shaped our city. What stands out most about this motion is it seems to be generally cross-party. In a time when politics can so easily be divided, it's uplifting to see a motion that can bring us together. It reminds us that we should support each other in our shared values and shared respect. Having heard members speak so kindly of Terry, I'm sure he would agree with that. The idea of naming a race event in Terry's memory feels especially fitting. Running was clearly a passion of his, and it's wonderful to see that the local Athletics Association has already taken steps to naming the race at Clock Court after him. This is very much a living legacy. It's something that will encourage health, fitness and community spirit across our city. So I'm pleased to support this motion. It's thoughtful, it's positive, and it reflects what we can do when we come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what everyone said here already. Rosanna and myself are both runners in the same running group, Run GL1. We do parkrun regularly. I came late to running on a team-based performance, but what comes of this is things like 10 years on since Joe Cox's legacy, we have more in common than which divides us, especially in the light of what's happened to a politician, Anne Widdecombe. And just looking at a Facebook post back in 13th of December 2024, Terry Haynes is promoting another annual Treadwear 4.3 mile this year with the Elmore Village Hall. Welcome entry on the day, donations to the Holly Gazard Trust. If you're interested on Christmas Day handicap race, please also contact Terry. So it's really great that Lorraine and Caroline have brought this motion today, and I'm sure we can all support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Pullen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't disagree with everything that people have said. I never actually was a councillor with Terry, but I spent many, many hours canvassing and campaigning with him, and even in his later years, his approach to politics and campaigning was athletic. And Councillor Radley, thank you for mentioning the cathedral. Terry was always there at civic events as a former mayor, always. And I went to your installation on the stall in the cathedral with Councillor James, and somebody wasn't there, and it was Terry. What a miss. Yes, he was staunchly Labour, but he was also, in that, always acted in the best interests of the city. To me, that's the best of a politician, being staunchly Labour and acting in the best interests of the city. But But can I just say thank you for bringing the motion, and thank you for the Gloucestershire Athletic Association in agreeing to name the road race for him. It's absolutely fitting, a real tribute. With everything that he did, I don't know how he had time to do politics, to be honest, with all his music and his dancing and his racing and everything. But it is absolutely right that the council supports Terry naming the race after Terry. Can I just add, though, to the point that Councillor Chambers de Boost made, wouldn't it really be appropriate for this city council to donate a trophy in Terry's name to accompany the matter of actually naming the race after him as well? So thank you, and thank you for everything, comments that people have made.
Thank you. Councillor Patel, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see everyone unanimously talking in favour and support of Terry and all the great things he did, not just for this council but also for this city. Terry is definitely a legend, not just in Barton and Treadwell, but in Gloucester as a whole. And his legacy will live on. And anywhere you go in the city, whether it's in Barton and Treadwell, in the city centre, in Long Levens, a lot of people will know Terry. They'll have heard of him, they'll have seen him. He actually taught my cousin at Carlton School, and he actually inspired my uncle to take up running back in the 70s, I think it was, many years ago, and they were good friends back then. Terry, yes, he's a Gloucester man through and through, and a true gentleman. He absolutely was. I like the idea of donating a trophy, contributing towards a trophy in Terry's name. But I also think perhaps we should go one further in this council, in Terry's, so that his legacy lives on. I think we should look at maybe naming a council building after Terry, or even perhaps if there's a new development, a new residential development in Gloucester, maybe naming a road name after him. I think that's the least we could do for Terry. And I think if he was, I'm sure he's looking down, smiling on us and thinking, what is this fuss all about? But it's the right thing to do. And like I said, no one in the city has a bad word to say about Terry. So let's ensure his legacy lives on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vidaho, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, earlier I suggested naming a bridge after someone from Gloucester, and I thoroughly endorse what I was about to say was, why don't we name a street after him? In the honour of people who have passed, it is appropriate to name buildings or streets after such people. And I think Terry Haynes would love to have had people running on a road named after him. And I think we ought to look at that in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Grells, please.
Sorry, my hearing aid's not working too well. So there's not much I can add. We all love Terry. He was one of the most popular men in the whole city, and wherever you went, people would recognise him and go up and speak to him. He was, the one thing I just wanted to refer to, two things. He was a great supporter of anything civic, and he would chair the local sheriff's association and say, do you know, we can get this, we can get that, and he was really passionate about it. And if we didn't ensure that the chain of office was always in good nick, he would rub us over the knuckles and say, come on, this is part of the civic tradition. And everybody has talked about that and the sporting abilities. I just want to, through you, Mr. Mayor, to ask the Chief Exec, if we can take away some of these ideas that Councillor Owen over there was talking about. And the idea of a trophy, I think, is brilliant. And that's not going to cost a huge amount. And we've been talking about finances. And if we all chipped in a couple of quid or a fiver, we could soon do that now, just through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Chief Exec. If you and your team are unable to organise that, I'm sure some of us councillors could just put our pat together and get some money and send it over to the athletics club. The reason I labour that is that I don't want this to be one of these issues that we talked about at a council meeting, go on holiday for the month of August and then think, what happened? Oh, I don't know, something must have happened. So, through you again to the Chief Exec, can we leave it with you? Can we leave it with you to organise something and get back to us and all the rest of it? And I'll chip in with the first time. Okay, thanks.
Any other debates? Okay, we go back to Councillor Campbell to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to pick up on everything that's been said about a potential trophy, I believe that the Gloucestershire County Athletic Association have already thought about that. Whether they've purchased it or not, I don't know, but they definitely were thinking along those lines to have a trophy and indeed some medals as well. So perhaps we could liaise with them and maybe, you know, come up with a solution that would mean we could both honour Terry in that way. But I'm sure that Terry's family, who will be watching the live stream, will be very touched by all the very kind comments and wonderful tributes and warm words for Terry this evening. I really liked Councillor Riederhold's idea also, and Councillor Patel also had mentioned about naming a road. Yes, Haynes Walk, or perhaps it should be Haynes Run, really. But thank you, that is really, really wonderful, and perhaps those things in future could also be arranged. I don't have much more to add, except to say that every January, when we hear about the Terry Haynes cross-country relay races, we will remember him with great affection for his exemplary contribution to our city. I think it is particularly apt that it is a relay race, because perhaps we can all symbolically take up Terry's baton and go forward, always for the good of Gloucester. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going straight into the votes. Those in favour? Any against? Again, that's unanimous.
Councillors, the Mayor's just given me permission to just read out a note to remind you that at 9:45 p.m, which is about 6 minutes' time, we will be inviting the Mayor to take a vote on guillotining and ending the meeting at the 3-hour mark. So I just wanted to give you that warning, because if you do vote to close the meeting at that point, there won't be a vote on the motion currently under debate. If you vote to extend it for a further hour, then we can go on from there. But if you vote to end the meeting, there won't be a debate, there won't be a vote on the motion that's currently up for debate, unless someone rushes through a request that the question now be put. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we're going on to the second motion. Councillor Chambers, please. Alistair Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. I move this motion because public safety is the first duty of any council. By the way, does everyone want to carry on?
So that's another 5 minutes. So we'll be doing a vote in 5 minutes for the guillotine.
Can the question be put, Mayor? I'm trying to find the rule. 15.13.
Okay, we're going to continue with debates before you ask for the question to be put.
There needs to be some discussion.
There needs to be some discussion on the motion.
I'm getting a lot of
and there's also 2 amendments on this motion.
People want to carry on. I'm getting a lot of hostility here, so I'll carry on. I move this motion because public safety is the first duty of any council. If our residents do not feel safe walking through neighbourhoods, using parks, waiting at bus stops, or allowing their children to play outside, then we've failed one of the most basic responsibilities of public life. Recent crime statistics have placed Gloucester among the areas with the highest rates of violent crime in this country. Behind every statistic is a real person, a victim of assault, a family affected by domestic abuse, somebody robbed, threatened, or even raped. Violent crime is not just about headlines, it's about everyday impact on ordinary people. It's about the shop worker that's been robbed. It's about the elderly resident too frightened to leave their home. It's about the young person caught up in gang activity. It's the victim of abuse suffering behind closed doors. The consequences far reach beyond the immediate victim. Violent crime damages communities, discourages investment, harms local businesses and undermines confidence in our city. This motion is not about party politics. Crime does not ask whether somebody votes Labour, Liberal, Conservative or Independent before it affects them. Every councillor in this chamber represents residents who deserve to feel safe. While policing is primarily the responsibility of Gloucestershire Constabulary and the Police Crime Commissioner, local governments has an important role to play. We influence the design of public spaces, street lighting, CCTV, provision, youth services, housing, licensing and community partnerships. Prevention is always better than reacted after lives have already been damaged. We should be strengthening our partnership with police, supporting initiatives that divert young people away from crime, ensuring victims know where to seek help and make sure public spaces are designed with safety in mind. Residents repeatedly tell us the same things. They want visible enforcement. They want fly-tipping antisocial behaviour and vandalism dealt with before they escalate. They want safer parks, safer streets and town centres where families feel comfortable spending time. This council cannot arrest offenders, but we can make Gloucester a more difficult place for crime to flourish. We can support community safety initiatives, improve environmental design, work with schools, housing providers and voluntary organisations, and ensure that every opportunity to prevent violence is taken. To anyone who thinks this issue has been exaggerated, I'll simply say this: speak to the victims, speak to the parents, speak to the people worried about knife crime, speak to the retailers dealing with theft, speak to the residents who no longer feel comfortable walking home after dark. They are not interested in political arguments, they simply want action. This motion sends a clear message to Gloucester. We will not accept violent crime as the norm. We stand with victims, we support those working tirelessly in our communities to make them safe, and we commit ourselves to doing everything we can within our powers to reduce violence and improve the quality of life for every resident. I hope every councillor, regardless of political affiliation, can unite behind what is a simple principle, because everyone deserves to feel safe in Gloucester. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Lewis. You'd like to speak now or reserve the right? Thank you.
Mayor, I have an amendment.
So we got an amendment from the Liberal Democrats group.
Yeah. So I'm proposing this amendment. It's being seconded by Councillor Hilton. It's a friendly amendment, which is intended to be a friendly amendment. Although I can sympathise with the intentions of the motion, its tone really denigrates Gloucester as a vile, unsafe, knife-wielding gangland ghetto that's on par to horror sets like that of films like The Purge or the 1992 film Candyman and the supernatural legend of the hook-handled killer. If this truly is the experience of Councillor Chambers, then please drop me an email and copy in the community wellbeing team. That aside, I do understand how some people, hence my change from many, in the original motion can feel unsafe. Gloucester figures are undeniably high. An intelligence report, however, points to several factors that help explain why these are high. We are a dense urban environment with a busy city centre. We have major transport routes and transport hubs, a large nighttime economy, high levels of deprivation in some neighbourhoods with greater concentrations of social housing in some high-harm areas, the presence of organised criminal activity linked to drugs, exploitation and violence in high-footfall locations such as Eastgate Street, Southgate Street and the city centre. Gloucester actually compares similar to other local authority areas, including Ipswich, Northampton, Derby, Plymouth, where I lived for over 10 years, Southampton, Southend-on-Sea, Cardiff, North Tyneside and Bury. So what is being done? This council has invested in the city centre engagement officers and continues to support City Safe through the bid, who work directly with the community and businesses. Their role is to build trust, identify issues early, support vulnerable individuals and help prevent problems from escalating. This community-based approach is vital because safety is most effective when local people are involved in shaping the solutions. We also continue to work closely with key partners, including the police, health services, housing providers and voluntary organisations. By sharing intelligence and coordinating interventions, we can target resources where they are most needed and provide support to those who may be at risk of offending or becoming victims of violence. We are also committed to maintaining and strengthening our Purple Flag accreditation, which recognises a well-managed, safe and vibrant evening and nighttime economy. Tackling violence is not something any organisation can do alone. It requires collaboration across agencies and communities through engagement officers and strong partnerships. Imagining a make-believe city with zero crime is a classic concept in storytelling, usually serving as either dazzling utopia or a dystopian society where the price of perfection is too high. It's time to stop bringing the city of Gloucester down. We know figures of violence are high, but what's important is what we're doing about it, and that's the good news. And I reiterate what Councillor Lewis said earlier in the evening, that it is a great city. This amendment simply tidies up the original motion in making it both practical and realistic, and I hope that every member across the chamber can support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chimler. We have come to the time of the guillotine, so we need to go to a vote.
Those in favour of closing the meeting?
On those in favour of closing the meeting.
Okay. And those against?
And those against?
Okay, so the 2/3 mark has been reached, so we have to
The
close.
2/3 mark has been reached,
So we have to close the meeting.
so we now have to close the meeting. Thank you, everyone.